live in the flesh. How are you, Dugroz? How's everything?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Anthony. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you being on and giving me your time today. After you already did a live stream earlier today, you're going crazy today.
Awesome. No problem.
Absolutely. And we got a bunch of people in here. I think a lot of people are anticipating seeing this for some reason. I think people really want to know some stuff from you, Dugroz, because we got Stan in here, we got Keith, John, we got Woodsy. What's going on, man? Cesar, Chombe, and Don Kim. Bunch of people in here, ready to have a good time on a nice Saturday, as we always do.
Yeah, thanks for being here, everyone. Appreciate it. This is my first time ever going on someone else's channel, so maybe everybody's looking for the dirt or something. I don't know. I'm kind of a boring guy, though, so if you want a soap opera, you might want to go elsewhere.
I don't know, man. I was doing some research on you, and I found some things out that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, and it's very intriguing. So I think you're not as boring as you let on. So I was first turned on to your channel. What's going on, Keith? What's going on, Chris, Lonnie, Lizzo? You're hungry? I understand. I was first turned on to your channel almost a year ago now. I guess maybe it was 8 or 9 months. I think you said, which was a video you did called "Credit Card Burnout." And I remember it hit the algorithm, right? All the recommendations. And I saw this video and I watched it of you, and it was basically talking through your woes of not being super excited about credit cards, points and miles at that time. Maybe you didn't care to get the best cent per point valuations out there. And maybe you were, just kind of overall tired of managing which credit card to use for this bill and whatnot. So I kind of wanted to go into it, and let me cut myself off because Woodsy coming in already with a 20 spot, man. What are you doing? Wait, I could heart these now? Oh, very nice. Look at that. Going to start this one. This is for the Creator Meetup Fund. I just booked the Waldorf. Really?
Awesome.
Damn. We were talking about that off camera. The New Orleans meetup that's going on in the Discord is where everybody's talking about it. But you booked the Waldorf, man. Appreciate you, Wizzy, man. Thank you so much for that, and that's gonna be an awesome stay for you. What's going on, John? Kinstry, MR, Phil, Richie. Thank you again, Woodsy, man. I appreciate that. Luke. Okay, so again, the credit card burnout. So I kind of wanted to just say, like, that's how I met you. And then after that video, Luke made a reaction video who just came in. Chad made a reaction video just talking through, like, how could you get your spark back with the points and miles game? So could you just kind of talk us through what that was, like, why were you burned out, and then how you kind of came out of it? Because I think a lot of people have been feeling that lately with Amex and all their coupons and the changes and whatnot. A lot of people are feeling some burnout, want more simplicity. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So that was like, I don't know, February or March of last year. So coming up on a year, like you said. And I think I got to a point where I was just trying too hard in the credit card game. And I'd been in it about 3.5 years at that point. And jumped in with both feet and was like trying to get everything I could get all the ecosystems just right, get my credit card set up just right. Even doing like, the Chase offers, like 10% off at Burger King and that kind of stuff. Like I was going to CVS pharmacy, and getting the 2 toothpaste, you get a $3 coupon to use the next week and that kind of stuff. Right. And I just got to a point where like, another factor is, so my parents are in their 80s and they're in poor health. They live in assisted living. So I'm managing my own family's finances and I manage their finances also. And it just got to the point where it was like the joy was kind of coming out of it. Like, oh, did I check this? Did I pay this? Did I get this deal by the deadline? And I just kind of got sick of it for a while. Plus it fell at a time of year, I live in the middle of Iowa, which is a wintry nightmare at certain times of year. And there was just no sun. There was no fun. I hadn't done any travel since like the October before. And even that was kind of a low down trip. So I hadn't had any of the rewards that come along with credit cards. And I was just going for too much stuff. And I kind of hit a point where I just decided I'm just going to sit down in my car and record a video where I just say, here's the stuff that I'm not enjoying. Like, do I need to scale back to like, the Chase trifecta and that's it? And surprisingly, within our relatively small community, it kind of went viral. A lot of people that I hadn't heard from before watched it. And then at that point, I was still under 1,000 subscribers also.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to thank Luke and Chad, because those are the two guys who made specific reactions. And I think like the next day I got like 52 subscribers,
Yep.
which was, I don't think it's what I need to get over 1,000, but really, really close. So shortly after that, I got monetized, and that kind of lifted my spirits too. And that April, I went to Florida and Alabama, and that kind of rejuvenated me. And I made some changes in my strategy at that point too. And I'm safely beyond the burnout now. But that's kind of how it got started.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I thought it was, it was honestly before everyone started, talking about all of the issues, or at least the woes they have of credit cards, that it's kind of coming around now. You were kind of the first to start, having that feeling back then.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good that you were able to obviously come out of that, take some awesome trips and whatnot. So, but I think it's a good conversation, because I think a lot of people are feeling it at the moment. But in that video, a part of one thing that you said in that video was that, I don't want to feel bad if I take my points out at a 1 cent per point valuation into like my family fund, where I can pay for, kids and whatnot, just for everyday things, groceries, who knows.
Piano
Um,
lessons, whatever.
yes, exactly. So I like that, because, it was a little more, obviously a lot more, not humility, but maybe just you feel almost a little bit bad about that situation. You're like, why should I feel bad about taking my points out at 1 cent per point? And it has me thinking, because I've been seeing comments lately talking about, well, does cent per point matter versus the experience of things? And I kind of wanted to go into that a little bit with you too,
Okay.
because I mentioned off stream, but I'll say it to everybody too. I did a podcast with Lonnie last week. Call me Lonnie, great guy. He talked about a strategy in which you can, get a million, millions of United miles and pay for everything, pay for your flights, your hotels, and whatnot. But a commenter mentioned, like, is Lonnie getting a good cent per point valuation out of things? Like, is he just getting like less than 1 cent per point? And to which Lonnie replied, yes. However, part of his goal is to pay nothing out of pocket, and that's kind of his goal. And it led me to a greater thought, and I want to ask your opinion on this. Um, what is the purpose of the points and miles game? Is it to maximize the amount of points you have to the degree, to the highest degree possible, or is it to pay for things that people would dream of, right? Like vacations and going to these places for as little out of pocket as possible, $0 out of pocket as possible. If you ask me, my entire life before I got onto YouTube, it was always to pay $0. I didn't even know what cent per point was before I got on YouTube. But what do you think about that whole debate?
Well, it's a good debate, and I don't think there's one rule that would apply to everyone. If I was, let's just say I was fairly well to do. I had a job where I made $500,000 a year, and maybe I'm self-employed, so I have a really flexible schedule. I don't think that person's goal should necessarily be pay zero out of pocket, because they probably can spare $5,000 a year out of their general budget, and it's really not going to hurt that much. That's not the situation I find myself in. So I just looked last night, and the median household income for a two-adult family in America last year was anywhere between $50,000 and $90,000 a year, and that's us. I mean, we're right there in that bracket. So I'm average. I'm like in every statistical category, just an average Joe.
Yeah.
So, and when I've been married for over 20 years, when my wife and I got married, we didn't have a lot of money. So there's always been a thought process in my mind that I don't want to get into credit card points and miles and end up costing my family money. Have you heard that phrase, like, honey, we can't afford to save that much money? Like, hey, this purse normally costs $1,000. I got it for $500.
Yeah.
You still spent $500. So, a similar analogy. Luke just said, if you're making $50,000 a year, I have a perfect place to go on vacation. It's called work.
Oh God.
My train of thought just completely derailed there, Luke. Thank you. So because of that, like, if I, when I first got into points and miles, I didn't have enough cash saved up specifically for travel. So, you know, my first $95 annual fee, I had to pay out of our family budget. And I just looked at it sort of like an investment. But I always felt a little guilty, like, you know, if I take this trip to Las Vegas or whatever, you know, even if I get a great deal, you know, if I get $2,000 worth of travel, but I still have to take $300 out of my family budget to cover all the incidentals and, you know, parts that aren't covered by points on miles. I mean, you can't use points to pay for a hamburger most of the time. I have this sense of guilt, like maybe I shouldn't go on the trip. Whereas if I have a hard and fast rule that my travels do not negatively impact my family budget at all, not even a penny, then I don't have that guilt. You know, I can go to Pensacola, I can go to Charlottesville, Virginia, and just totally enjoy myself. So for me, I've set that rule. So I kind of feel that I have to operate that way, that the purpose of points and mile is to make travel free, like really free. Even if I don't get the best cents per point there is, I want to go where I want to go when I want to go. And, you know, being a working class guy with a 9-to-5 job, I can't fly to Bora Bora in the third week of February, you know, and my wife's a teacher. So summers and Christmas break are big family vacations. And then just like anyone else who has a regular job, I put in for PTO. And if it's approved, maybe I can get a Monday, Tuesday off. So I fly out on a Friday night, come back on a Tuesday, that kind of thing for my RIP trips. So yeah, I can go into more detail if you want, but there's sort of the introduction.
Definitely. No, I think it's a great conversation to have because I am in of the the same school of thought, and I actually I agree where I hate it when the annual fee comes around and it's like am I actually cashing out points to pay for that annual fee? Well, no, it's tipping into income or it's tipping into savings or something like that. Whatever you have, a checking account. And I think that actually goes for a lot of people. Like Luke just mentioned here, Dugroz has the dad rule. He's the good head of the household.
Thanks, Luke.
Was talking about a lot of people talking about travel as a sort of a luxury. If you're skimming by, then your money and time may be better spent on necessities. Woodsy says, when I go on vacation, I work. I've worked literally every day, even on vacation, for the past 3 years, planning on taking an actual vacation in April. Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely should. And then Don Kim says, I like Dugroz's philosophy here. Also understand having player two work schedule based on the school calendar. Yeah. So it's hard to say because we had also a guy named Sean Lane on the podcast recently, and he he's all about he's all about this the highest cent per point valuations possible, and he said it himself. He's trying to be professionally unemployed, so he has the freedom to go to Bali and all these different places whenever he wants. So I think it's a good conversation, but I just think it's funny because it seems to be moving definitions on what the points and miles game is about. Oh, Sean's here. Let's go, Sean. Professionally unemployed. I stole it, man. And I'm kind of leaning more towards Sean's lifestyle now too, which is funny. But I just think it's funny how the definition of the points and miles game shifts depending on who you're talking to. Because like I mentioned earlier, if you talk to me anytime before starting YouTube, it was I just don't want to pay out of pocket for any of these hotels. So I'm signing up for a card, spend I'm normally spending, use the points for this, Hilton Garden Inn, and that was most of my travels until this point. So I don't know if anyone can necessarily agree on a definition of what the points and miles game is about, because another person might say, well, I'm trying to get the high, I want this to be a currency because I'm making $500,000 a year or something like that. I want it to be worth, 10x more than that. So that's pretty interesting. There was another thing I wanted to ask you about. You also put out a video. I just want to get your perspective because I haven't heard these perspectives a lot, so it's exciting for me. You also put out a video. It might have been one of your first videos that you just were driving, and you were driving, and you just had the dash cam going, and the audio caught you, and it was
Frugal
talking
points is what I call it.
Oh, really? Oh, right. In that video, you were talking about people in the points and miles game acting rich, to a degree. Do you have like thoughts on what that really means to you?
Well, it wasn't so much people acting rich or trying to act rich. I'm racking my brain here because I might be remembering it wrong, but I'm pretty sure the idea was I have personally run into situations where I come across as
yeah.
more affluent and wealthy than I actually am because of points and miles. I can't remember if I said this before we went live or after we went live, but for most people in real life, people that we just know outside the points and miles, how many people do you know are taking a big like beach vacation twice a year? I don't know very many people. In fact, like my coworkers, it's like, hey, we're going to Florida or Disney World or something like that with the kids. We might do that once every 3 years, once every 5 years. So someone with no knowledge of points and miles, if it's like, oh, Doug is traveling, I mean, he flipping took his family to Sweden and England, and he just takes these willy-nilly weekend trips 2 or 3 times a year. He went to Pensacola, he went to Vegas, he stayed at some fancy cabin in northern Wisconsin. They must be very well-to-do. It's like, well, actually, no. That entire trip to Wisconsin cost me a $95 annual fee on my Wyndham Business Earner card, which I paid for with bank bonuses out of my travel savings account because I don't want it to come out of my family budget. So sometimes, I do flex on those Iowans hard, Luke. That's right. So there's 2 things I take from that. One is it's just going to happen, and there's not much you can do about it. Secondly, I've kind of stopped talking about it, honestly, amongst just my regular friends. Don't get me wrong. If they proactively ask me questions, I'm happy to discuss it. But, I pretty much try to play it on the down low most of the time.
Definitely. Yeah. I think we end up in our own echo chambers, because I don't think a lot of us end up talking to people outside of what we do here. Oddly enough, I might be wrong. Maybe we all have friends, but I don't. I only talk to people who are doing these awesome redemptions or just and things and whatnot. We were talking off camera, like, yeah, like I would be. Oh, let me cut myself off. Filmo, $10 spot from all of us. Oh God, I don't know if that's on purpose, but to all of the from all of us,
School schedule husbands.
School schedule. Okay, sorry.
Like
School
people are more
parents.
than teachers.
Gotcha.
We spell goodly.
From all of us school schedule husbands, I appreciate you, Philmo, for doing that. Philmo is a great guy. He actually donated to the charity that I made a video on, the Loaves and Fishes out in Greenville, and he was somebody that actually donated to them directly from that video. He's a great guy, so I
cool.
appreciate you, man.
He's one of my subscribers too, so thanks, Philmo.
Nice.
One of the diehards.
Appreciate you, man, and Woodsy. Luke said I do the opposite. He flexes on all the peasants, so he doesn't care what you're saying. He's saying, I don't care who's talking to me. I'm doing this crazy stuff, and I don't care what they think.
So, I mean, I do have friends and acquaintances outside of points and miles. It's almost like the 2 worlds don't meet much. Occasionally, like there's a young man that goes to my church who's gotten very lightly into the points and miles game. Like, he transferred some points from Chase to Hyatt and redeemed them. And it was like, whoa, this is awesome. Like almost like maybe the 2nd or 3rd redemption most of us ever done. But hey, we all got to start somewhere. So I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
But unless somebody wants to talk about it, I don't want to be that guy, like the fantasy football guy. Like, hey, did you play fantasy football? No. Well, let me tell you about it anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the points and miles guy for that.
You have to join my league, man. It's like guaranteed money.
Excuse me.
So has that actually happened to you where you were, in conversations with people outside of this game, you tell them like, oh, I went to England and Sweden, and they just had like a look about them?
Not that exact reaction. No, I can't say I have. It's more just something we feel, I think. Like my wife and I are hesitant to share all our pictures and videos on Facebook because we don't want to be judged for flaunting things. And that might just be a product of, like I said, we were both kind of poor when we got married. We didn't have a lot of assets. So, I don't want to rub it in. There have been misunderstandings, or it leads to weird presumptions. You go to your boss and say, I need a raise. And it's like, what do you mean you need a raise? You just took a $30,000 vacation. Yeah, but it only cost me $400.
Yeah.
So They don't get that, you know.
Mm, I see. They're slaving away, being at the top of a company, and they're like, "I don't have any time to be doing these travels, and you're doing them, and and you're below me." Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. Part of that, is something that I heard you say also was there's a lot of people who are very um braggadocious about how frugal they are, and I thought that
Yes.
was interesting, because you mentioned something like buying dented cans and getting, like, cents off, something like that, and that's something to brag about, but it led me to think, like, I also have that where I will try to sitting in a Tesla, right, and I'm the biggest hypocrite, but for most of my life, it was, that kinda thing, like, how frugal can we be? How at the bottom of the basement could we live? And it almost gives you like a yeah, like a bragging right. What is that? Why do we do that?
I don't know for sure, but I suspect it has to do something with the way you were raised, your belief system, those sorts of things. Like,
Hmm,
you know, I'm a Christian, I go to church. A lot of my friends are people with fairly humble, conservative, ordinary, Midwest, Protestant work ethic people.
mm,
And I think all of that is very good. Um, if you think just in terms of like money in, money out, and that's all
mm,
you think about, you don't think of like time value of money. Maybe no one's told you there's other ways to do things.
hmm.
Um, it's sort of like, well, you know that episode of Seinfeld where Jerry goes down to be with his parents and like he doesn't want to go to the early bird dinner because supper starts at like 4:30. He's like, "Well, I'm not hungry." And on the way out, one of the old guys like, "Well, look who can afford to not get the early bird discount." Like you're so careless with your money.
Mhm,
Um, you kind of feel that a little bit, and it's like, so you're probably not donating to charity because look, you're blowing all your money on vacations. Whether or not people actually think that, or if it's just that's the perception I have, because very candidly, 10 years ago, I probably would have thought the exact same thing.
hmm,
Um, my thing is all about getting epic value. So
hmm.
if you manage your money carefully, it's not like I'm spending extra. It's just I'm really strategic with how I spend it.
Yeah.
And these banks are willing to give me all this free stuff. So I almost forgot the original question. Did I get close to
Well,
the answer
I
there?
I guess no, I mean, it's just I guess a perspective on, like, why people are, braggadocious about how frugal they are, and is that right? Like, should we not be should we be flexing, or is there an in between, you know?
I don't think you should flex necessarily, but sometimes trying to help people know what the options are can come across as flexing.
Hmm,
Or people get mad when you challenge their presuppositions because I'm a super frugal guy too. So it's almost like you have these two extremes where like, I buy generic ketchup at home
yeah.
and I take really nice vacations.
Hmm,
And I know that those two things don't have to conflict, but you know, the household I was raised in, like, my parents would be very much like, oh, they went to, I'm trying to think of a good example. They went to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Well, must be nice to have that kind of money.
hmm, wow.
And I said, I said to my mom once, not too long ago, like, Mom, I just took really nice vacations. Do you think I'm wealthy? Well, no. Well, then why do you assume about other people? I don't know.
Well, yeah, they don't wanna think anything bad of you.
So, we live in this weird dichotomy world where we are simultaneously spendthrifts and getting this tremendous value at the exact same time,
Hmm.
where a few times a year we can live as though we're wealthy, even though we're not.
I love that. I it's funny because it's a phrase that for some reason, as I'm filming, just keeps coming up, and I keep thinking it to myself because I think it was Vegas. I think it was going to the Conrad, seeing CJ and how he was doing it. I was like, "This is like being rich." I was like, this game is like living rich without having to be rich." I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"Whoa!"
That's
I'm
it.
like, "That's how it feels." You're in these play. Actually, Sean mentioned that on his thing as well because he's 23, and when he was in the Maldives, everyone looked at him like, "Do you have like trust fund money? Like, what?
Right.
How are you here?" He's like, no, just sign up for cards and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's an
And Keith,
interesting
we do
game.
shop at Aldi for our ketchup and other things. So
I've heard Aldi's is good. I just learned recently from Sledge that the owner of Aldi is the brother of the owner of Trader Joe's. So I thought that was interesting. Um,
no idea.
I want to mention Richie pointed out a great comment. He said, "My ketchup looks like this, generic, so that her vacations can look like this." Aldi, something like that. That's a
Exactly.
that's how it is. We need to go for. Is Heinz even too good? I think Heinz is too high level, huh?
Yeah, I don't need Heinz. I'm good with Great Value or whatever the generic is.
Gotcha. That's funny.
Frank Swanson brand ketchup or something
Oh,
you've never heard of.
Frank Swanson. Chad Pennycuff, two of my favorite peeps, one stream. What's going on, Chad? Alex, Stone Kid. We got a bunch of people in here. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. This game is an interesting dichotomy of between people who can be honestly could be like have no money, but also live as if they do. And I think that's baffling for a lot of people out there who are unaware that how powerful the game actually is. But that's why we need more people making videos like yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, before we get a little bit deeper into some other questions that I had, I was interested in asking you just like how you got started in the game, the age old question, right? Because I
Hmm.
know you've had a history of, I guess, over a certain amount of years. But I want to know, how'd you get started in just like the credit card game itself?
Yeah, so you're right. I'm in my 40s, mid 40s, and my oldest existing credit card I got in the year 2000. It's my Capital One Venture One. It wasn't originally a Venture One. It was back then they just called it the Capital One card because there was only one.
Oh,
Um, but I told Spencer Johnson recently, he had his birthday, and I said, "Hey, my credit card and you are the same age."
oh my God.
Um, but I didn't do anything in points and miles at all. I might have cashed out some points, and one time I bought a vacuum cleaner using points, which was probably like the
Hmm.
worst redemption possible.
Yeah.
Um, around 2008, for about a year and a half, maybe about 15 months, I worked for Wells Fargo. And while I
Hmm.
worked for Wells Fargo, I got a Wells Fargo credit card that was marketed as an employee card. It's this
Oh.
grandfathered one called the Visa Signature. I'm trying to cover the numbers there.
Mhm.
Didn't know anything about it, and I was responsible with my money. I paid my balance off every month, with very few exceptions. Um, Fast forward, I have kids. My wife and my kids want to fly to Arizona. That's where her parents live. And plane tickets were kind of expensive. And I'm like, this is stupid. I don't want to pay, $350 per person. That's ridiculous. So something in the back of my head said, and I'd long stopped working for Wells Fargo at that point, but I still had the credit card. Something in the back of my head told me, like, oh, remember when you got that vacuum cleaner with your Wells Fargo card? I wonder if they do anything with plane tickets. So I just went
Oh.
onto my Wells Fargo website and clicked on the Go Far reward, which I don't know that I'd ever clicked on before,
Hmm.
except for the vacuum cleaner thing. And it turns out that card, the Visa Signature card, gives you 1.5x in their portal. And
Hmm.
that was the only thing I knew, and I was blown away. It was like, so let me get this straight. You're saying, like, for $67 equivalent, I can get $100 worth of flights? Like, this is awesome. And that was in like January, February of 2019. So I had enough points just from accidentally using the card to pay for 2 out of the 3 plane tickets. And I'm like, I
Wow.
just saved 66%.
Wow.
I wonder if there's other credit cards that have this kind of thing. Because, like, all I knew was that, like, I had the Wells Fargo card. I didn't even know what the benefits were. I had some US Bank card that didn't have any rewards. I had the Capital One card, which at that point didn't have any rewards. And then I had a Casey's MasterCard. Casey's is a gas station that gave 2% back on Casey's purchases, and that was it. And I was like, and we talked about like people that like to brag about buying dented cans and stuff. I thought I was pretty gangsta using that Casey's card, getting my 2% back. Like,
2% is
hey,
good on gas, man.
look at the guy over pump 7. He's using a debit card. I'm getting 2% back.
Right.
But so, yeah, early part of 2019 is when I used that magic trick with the Wells Fargo portal, which made me look up other cards. I was like, huh, did you know there's credit cards that give more than 2% back on certain things? I'm going to have to get a couple of these. And then I jumped in head first. And, everyone jokes about the guy who like goes too fast and then figures out Chase 524 is a thing.
Yeah.
I was totally that guy. Fortunately, I got to 324 before I figured it out and slammed on the brakes. So I still had a little room to work with. But I got my first 3 credit cards with it. My first 3 credit cards, 4 points within about 6 weeks of each other, which if you're a newbie watching this, I don't recommend that. Go a little slower.
Wow. That's a funny journey. And one thing I find really interesting too is I was, when I went back in your channel, the first videos you were kind of making were talking about, there was a lot of different things. Like I think you had some car stuff on there, you had some coupon stuff, but also credit cards were mixed in there about 4 years ago. So you almost essentially have documented your entire points and miles journey, not just credit cards, because that you've had them for 20 years,
right?
But at least your points and miles game journey the entire time you've been on YouTube, huh?
Yeah, I mean, not just almost. I have.
Yeah.
I know you didn't ask the question, but I'll ask it anyway. A couple people have wondered, why is your channel called Dugroz Reports? Well, I can talk about the Dugroz part if you want, but the reports part is when I started my channel just over 5 years ago. And like, if you watch my first like 7 or 8 videos, they have nothing to do with credit cards. Like, here's a ink cartridge that I bought on Amazon. Is it good or not? Here's a water filter for my refrigerator.
Yes.
That's good. Here's a lubricant that prevents your garage door from squeaking. I like sharing opinions. So I thought of it like consumer reports. Like, consumer reports tells you what products are good and bad. Dugroz reports on the WD-40 alternative, But then I got a little ways in. I was kind of, that was like January of 2019. I kind of discovered the credit cards like 2 months later. I bought a car I didn't put the entire person on a credit card, but I made the down payment with a credit card and I made a video about that. So, and I thought I was a baller, because I put $3,000 on my Inc. Business Preferred and met the sign-up bonus, just by buying a used car.
Right.
So yeah, and then about 9 months in, I decided to start actually commenting on the specific credit cards. And those first few videos are total clunkers. So if you want to watch them, you can, but it's pure entertainment value. You won't learn much.
Gotcha. I mean, I clicked through a little bit this morning, but
But you might learn a little.
So 2 questions on that. One is, so how did I meant to ask this later, but it just came up. So Dugroz Reports, that's where the name came from. So when did the whole with Dugroz Reports come to play? When did you start doing it? I feel like it was a year ago. I was looking through your videos. I was like, is it just, have you always done it? I don't know.
I don't remember when I started. No, not always. So there was 2 things that happened at once. There's a YouTuber named Jake Bro, Broe, and he used to do credit card and personal finance. He later switched to doing coverage about the war in Ukraine, and he doesn't do any credit card stuff anymore. But his old videos are still out there if you want to look them up. And when he did his videos, he kind of did like a one-handed, "Hi everyone, Jake here." And I just thought, like, that's really corny, but I remember it and expect it. And then there was a guy named Brian Johnson who does videos about like how to make good YouTube videos. And he said, like, just do something memorable. Use like big gestures. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll try it. So I just did it. And then it's like, now it's just automatic.
Yeah,
there's really no right. This doesn't mean anything whatsoever with Dugroz Reports, other than it was just like, make a big gesture that's easy to remember. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, it could have been anything. It could have been back here. It could have been
right.
That's
so
funny.
like now people kind of make fun of it, but that's what I actually want them to do.
Mhm.
You know, like it's publicity, so I'll take it.
I mean, every time Chad does a live and mentions you, he always
Right.
does that, you know? So it's great marketing for sure, and
Like
that's
at first,
interesting.
Chad got it
Hmm.
wrong. He would say, Dugroz, it's Dugroz Reports. I'm like, no,
Oh,
it's with.
with
Oh, okay. Now I got it.
that's funny. Oh my god. And I found something out. I don't know if I because I obviously I didn't know everything. So upon my research, I found out. I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but have you ever showed anyone that you have a second channel?
I've mentioned it. I don't mean for it to be a secret. So,
Gotcha.
um, Dugroz Reports is 5 years old, but Dugroz is like 12 years old.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a stranger to YouTube. I used to do mattress reviews and bed
Mhm.
frames and pillows. And if you want to look it up, that channel's just called Dugroz,
Yeah.
Dugroz, no reports.
You got like
So
200,000
technically, this is
views on
actually
a
my second channel. And for anyone that's ever made a channel and then kind of abandoned it, it's weird that people still keep subscribing. So I have more
yeah.
subscribers on Dugroz than Dugroz Reports. It'll catch up eventually, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, I just thought that was so insane because I saw it and I was like, "What the hell?" I said, "He's reviewing a box spring and he has 200,000 views on a video." I said, "This guy's done something. He's done this before." I was like, "Oh my god!" So you've always just kind of been this guy where you have a thought, you maybe have figured something out, and you again reporting on it, right? So
Yeah,
that's yeah,
I just like sharing opinions, and you got to be careful in real life because you don't want to be the annoying, well, actually, guy, which is my natural proclivity. I have to hold back. But
yeah,
on YouTube, you can do it as much as you want because if somebody doesn't want to know, they don't have to watch the video. So
yeah.
if you want to, review a box of crayons, go for it.
That's funny. Yeah, I thought that was crazy. I was like, "There's hundreds of thousands of views on this on just mattresses," and it's like you were like the mattress king for a while. Like,
For a little while. Although there's some mattress reviewers who have hundreds of thousands of
yeah.
subscribers. I've got, I don't know, 3,000 ish.
How come you just don't feel like doing that anymore?
It's sort of like I can either do the mattresses or the credit cards, points and
Mm,
miles. It would be hard to do both. You know,
mhm,
in a hypothetical, I think it actually was a good market. And in a hypothetical world where I'm successful enough, I don't have to work a 9 to 5 job, I would do both.
yeah.
Whether or not that'll ever happen, I don't know. And that's okay one way or another. Um, Plus, to review mattresses, you have to have mattresses. And
Yeah,
having like 3 or 4 queen size mattresses just leaning up against the wall in your house, the wife would much rather have me have these laying around, that can all be put in
yeah.
a safe at night than multiple mattresses.
Well, I mean, if you have enough credit cards, that could be a mattress, right? If you have
That'd be a
maybe
lot of
I
cards
wonder how many you would need for the extra cushion, but yeah, maybe at
and
least
not
a
at all
thousand.
comfortable.
No, definitely not. Especially if they're all like I don't know, all metal cards, right? Um, um, Richie said Dugroz colon pillow talk. Hey, hey, that's always it's always an opportunity. Um, MR said, would you say on your videos put it to bed? Maybe you're gonna put some.
I put the channel to bed. Yes, I
Oh
would
my,
say that.
oh no. Cesar said he's been watching Doug for over 2 years. Um, yeah, they mentioned Jake Rowe a little bit. I wanted to also say because it was kind of funny. Random Judica said it starts well talking about the like travel portals and how you get like into the whole addiction and whatnot. It starts with a simple travel portal redemption, and before you know it, you're sitting in the corner at a Capital One lounge cutting cane sugar for your free cappuccino with the Amex Platinum card. Yeah, it's a crazy throughput there. Um, that's funny. Um, it's
So just
reassuring
to
for
let you
everybody.
know, I
Hmm.
just got a low battery notification on my phone, so I might have to plug it in.
Okay,
If I do so, my microphone's going to go out. So if the audio changes slightly, that's why.
that's fine. Yeah, like I said, oh, that's right. You have an iPhone 8, right? Yeah,
I
that's
do. I
that
have
thing
the
dies.
newfangled iPhone 8. Yeah, this video just eats a lot of battery, I guess.
See, I have the this is my iPhone 8 that I have since now upgraded to the 13. But yeah, this I have to have this plugged in usually because it just dies. Even just having it on nothing, doing nothing.
Hmm.
Um, Richie asks you, purple mattress, is it worth it?
Never tried it, so I don't know. I think I would like it.
Is there like a best mattress that you would recommend to people? I spent like 15 years on one mattress, and apparently that's not a thing you should do. But
No, probably after about 7 years, there's enough like dead skin and dust bunnies. You're
oh
probably
my
gonna want to throw
god.
it out just for that reason.
Okay.
If I had to pick, I'd say either I have a video about the Dream Cloud mattress,
Hmm.
which is actually in this room right here, the guest room, which is also my office,
Hmm.
just off screen. Or our every night sleeper is an Alexander Signature Hybrid by Nest Bedding. They changed the name to Sparrow. So if you go to the Dugroz channel, look those two up. Those are my favorites.
Wow. And a few people in the comment, Keith, Aaron, they both say they have purple mattress and they love it. Luke says he has a purple, but he doesn't like it.
Mm.
Alex bought a Sattva and a Casper foam mattress in the past month. Huh. This is a whole other world for me. Jake Mercure's here as well. He
Hi, Jake.
CX'd. Are all the mattresses on Amazon junk? I have like a $250 mattress.
If it's $250, it's probably not the best.
Hmm.
Can you
Interesting.
hear me okay? I had to shut the microphone off.
It's honestly like almost the same.
Oh, good thing I bought this.
Yeah, right. Well, you got that with your you said the Dell credit, right? So you
Yeah, I
got
got
some
this
benefit.
wireless mic for $25 on Dell and used my business platinum credit for that.
Not bad, not bad. Is it easy to use that Dell credit? I never had a business platinum. Never.
Yeah, just be aware that it takes. First of all, Dell doesn't post the charge until the package has arrived in the mail, and then it takes probably 10 to 12 business days after that for the credit to post. So I had a problem once where I thought I hadn't activated it, but I actually had. So I returned an item, and then it crossed into the next semester, so I didn't get the credit. So they charged me back for it. So don't wait until the last minute to use it. Like you'll want to use your first semester by like no later than maybe June 10th, and use your second semester by no later than December 10th.
Gotcha. So that's actually really good to know because with the normal platinum credits, usually they'll post for like a hotel credit a couple days and you're good. But yeah, if you're right on that cusp, you'll lose out on some credits if it doesn't
Yeah.
ship to you in time.
I'm
Interesting,
going to have my
especially.
renewal for my business platinum coming up any day now, so I'm planning to cancel it. So I wanted to make 100% sure I got in those credits before I did.
Really? Looking to cancel? Have you talked about this on video already?
I maybe mentioned on a couple of my live streams. I don't have a dedicated video for it.
Gotcha. So actually, this ends up being an interesting segue because I think it might have been a year and some change ago where you put out a video talking about how membership reward points and Amex points are just not for you. And you
It
went
was more
through.
than that. It was probably 2 to 3 years ago.
Oh, okay. So 2-3 years ago then.
And that's kind of an embarrassing video for me, but we can talk about it.
Well, because I know you. It's funny because you had the thought because you made this video. I saw you left a comment like a year ago, and you're like, "It's funny the juxtaposition of when I made this video and now I'm trying to get my player to like a platinum card or something like that." I think you
Yeah.
wrote. So I was like, "Wow, he actually thought to go back just because maybe it sounded hypocritical." But we change as the years go on. But I wanted to know because you talked about how membership reward points for you at that time just didn't make sense. But what was there something that happened to you that made you think like, okay, membership rewards suck, but now wait a second, now this is interesting, and now I have platinum cards. Like, what was that connection for you that you thought it was valuable?
Well, there was two pieces of the puzzle, and what I said in that video, to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, was true from a certain point of view. So at that time, I was still kind of new in the credit card points and miles game, and I didn't have any aspirations to take these big international vacations or even big domestic vacations. I just wanted to fly the family to Arizona to see grandma and grandpa. I just wanted to go stay at a cabin in Missouri for a few days. And honestly, if that's what you're wanting to do, MR parts probably aren't the best. So you're going to get better value with probably Chase or Citi or just a cashback strategy. So that's one thing that changed. Secondly, that video was made, I think it was made before COVID or at least early in the pandemic. And then, like around late 2020, early 2021, Amex started the points parade where it used to be like finding 100,000 point platinum card offer or
Oh,
even a 90,000 point offer was like
yeah.
a rare ghost. And now it's like, well, I'm not going to bother to sign up if I don't get at least 120,000. So they just increased their welcome offer so much that even if I cashed it out, it still made financial sense. I didn't end up cashing out for the most part because that kind of bridged me nicely from credit cards 101 to credit cards 202. You know, when I started to get a little more advanced, I mean, Amex points are what got us to Europe last summer. So I changed a little and Amex changed a lot. I'll put it that way.
It's a good, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's a really good point because I remember when I got my platinum and my gold cards, it was during lockdowns, or at least right in between and then a little bit after. And yeah, I got some of the worst. I think I actually got the worst welcome offers you could possibly get on them post like early 2000s, right? I think my platinum card was 60K and my gold card was 45K. Like absolutely laughable. Lame loser, right? So I had, I still got it anyway, but yeah, if I had some more insight into what they would have done, I'd be like, oh my god, I would just get one. Like I would just get one now, 150K platinum and 90K Amex gold. Like that's a good point. And it's like, yeah, the points are, and now those points that I built up over time. Of course, I got a Schwab too. That was like 100K, and now those points are just cashed away for, future travels. That could be used. And you said that as what got you, abroad to England and Sweden. Luke actually asked, did you fly economy to Europe with those Amex points?
No, we flew business class both ways.
Wow. How was that?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, that was my first time flying internationally. Now, slight caveat, when I was 11 years old, we went to Canada. But other than that, my first time outside the US, and I kind of felt like I didn't do it for this reason, but like, if I'm going to be a big time YouTuber to have the bragging rights, I got to fly over the ocean in business class at least once. Let me tell you, finding 4 seats in business class on the same flight with rewards is not easy. I checked points.me like every single day for about 3 months until finally something opened up on Air France. They changed the flight, they canceled the flight, but I still had my rewards. So I ended up flying on KLM, which of course is one of their partners, on the way over, and then on Delta on the way back. So KLM, business class, Delta One on the way home.
Wow. And how is Delta One, by the way?
This was the older Delta One.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like the newish ones where it's more rectangular. Delta One was fine. I would say KLM was a better soft product. Like the customer service was better. They give you these little blue houses when you fly on KLM in business class, and it's supposed to be 1 per customer, but I asked the stewardess, like, hey, do you still give this? Oh yes, we'll have those at the end of the flight. And I acted like I was really like excited about it. So as I was leaving, she shoved 2 extra ones in my bag just to be nice.
Wow.
So, family of 4, but we got 6 houses.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, you could decorate Christmas with those for sure.
Another funny story on that flight, if you don't mind me sharing, because this ties in nicely. We were talking about earlier, like a really frugal person, humble beginnings, pretending to be rich for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So on the plane, on the way there, this was the Dutch flight attendant. She was super nice. What do you want with your meal? Do you have milk? Yeah, we have milk. I'll pour you a glass of milk. That's no problem. The milk glass was like this big around and this tall. So, being a guy from the Midwest, that's like 2 sips for me. So I kept asking her for refills. And after about the 4th refill, I said, and I could see where she was getting it from because I was in the very first row on the right. There was a little mini fridge. She kept opening up like a half-gallon carton. Not a half-gallon, but like, the old school milk containers.
Okay, yeah.
And like one of those containers would fill about 3 of those little tall flute glasses. And I said something like, if you want to just give me the container, I don't mind. And she just looked at me like, oh, no, sir. You don't have to drink directly from the carton. I will pour it for you every time. Even if I have to do it 20 times, you just let me know. And it really had this vibe of like, who let this hick on the plane that was planning to drink directly from the milk carton?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, well, in elementary school, we drank directly from the little half pint carton.
Yeah. Oh, that is so funny.
But no, you do not drink milk directly out of the carton. This is
Yeah,
business class.
yeah, we don't want your hick lips touching the cardboard carton. That's ridiculous. That is hilarious. Wow.
Again,
So
it wasn't like a
mhm.
whole jug of milk like I'm drinking from a gallon carton. It was one of those little, like, what do they call it? Half quart, half pint,
Yeah.
something like that.
So they had, like, budget milk as well. So what the hell are they skimping out on?
It was
You know?
probably like a good brand of milk, some Dutch dairy, but it was in the little tiny cartons.
That's funny. Stan said, "Keeping it Dugroz keeping it real with the milk carton." That's funny. Luke said, "Drinking milk for dinner in your 40s is likely the most Iowan thing I've ever heard." Is that what's the deal with
Yeah.
Iowa? I feel like it gets brought up, and I don't feel like I understand what Iowa really is fully.
Um, so I would put it this way. The only difference between Iowa and Illinois is Chicago. We don't have a Chicago. We don't have one really big city. In
Hmm.
every other way, it's pretty much exactly the same. So, like, if you think of my home area, my home airport is Des Moines Air, Iowa. That's like, Columbus, Ohio, Springfield, Illinois,
Hmm.
um, Richmond, Virginia. One of those like metro areas around 500,000, 750,000.
Hmm.
So it's not like, I live on a gravel road and ride a cow to work every day. I live in a suburb. I live in a 3-bedroom house. We have electricity and internet and indoor plumbing and everything. It's just
Wow.
very normal, boring America, but we do like our dairy products here. We're right next to Wisconsin, so
Oh.
a lot of cheese, a lot of milk. Ironically, like, I talked about like the great value is hard for people to understand that aren't into points and miles.
Hmm.
Probably the video that I made the most that resonated with my actual real life friends is a video on how to get a free gallon of milk every week at Quick Star, which is a gas station here in town.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, I make a video on like, how to fly to Florida for free, and none of my friends mention it. I make a video about how to get free milk at the gas station, and like 10 of my friends like, hey, I saw that video about the milk. That's awesome.
Now I have to know, how are you getting free free milk at Quick Star?
Well, it was a limited time offer.
Oh.
It was like if you sign up for their debit card and link it to your account, and then you go in and you have to pay for at least one item in addition to the milk. So like you can put in like half a gallon of gas, go in, pay with your debit card, and you get a free gallon of milk once a week for a year.
Oh my god.
Just they
That's
wanted to
pretty
get
good.
people in the store. It was a brand new store.
Wow. That's interesting. A gallon of milk a week for a full year, like, that would have helped me a
Yeah.
lot in my days of going to the gym, because it was like, a quart a day with, like, weight gainer shakes and all that stuff, and I remember going to the deli all the time, it was like $3.99 for a gallon. Wow. For a whole year. Man, so I guess Luke is right, you guys really love your milk out there,
We
huh?
love
Just
milk. Yes, that's true.
wow. That's, that's, interesting. Aaron wants to know what kind of milk was this? Like, it better been whole, they
It
said.
was 2%. I hope that's close enough for him.
Oh, that's I don't know how people feel about that. I guess we'll see, you know? Yeah. Imagine yeah, how do you guys feel about almond milk? Is that, like, taboo?
I don't care for it. My wife drinks almond milk because she
Okay.
has a little bit of a lactose sensitivity, but not for
No.
me.
I thought I
Tastes
think
like fake milk.
really? Interesting. I think I'm remembering something weird. Is Iowa one of those places, like a certain area of Iowa? I feel like I'm remembering something from the past that there was like a small town, maybe it's Ohio, maybe or Ohio, but there was like a small town that they were testing like new cereals on a certain town, and people would joke that like, oh, they're
Yes. So you're
getting
thinking of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, which is
oh
not a small town. It's like the second largest metro area in the state, probably a
yeah
250,000 people. And I don't remember which one. One of the big cereal manufacturers, like General Mills or Kellogg's, has a factory there where they make the cereal.
oh
So like maybe they make Lucky Charms. So what they do is when they make a new cereal, they'll test it out in that town first to
oh
see how
my
it
god.
does.
Really? So I saw a lot of memes online like, "Oh, that's you must be from that city that tests new cereals," 'cause, like, they're saying something stupid online, like, "You must be one." What is Cedar Rapids it's called?
Yeah, Cedar Rapids.
You must be yeah, you must be from Cedar Rapids. That's funny. Wow, I didn't know. That's, oh, that's a distant memory, Jesus. Don Kim says, "I think Napoleon Dynamite is based in Iowa." Oh, but Luke
Luke's
says, "I think
right.
it's
That was
Idaho."
Idaho.
Ah, interesting.
There's
Huh.
this meme called like where Idaho, Ohio, and Iowa all get mixed up. And they'll say like, "Welcome
Hmm.
to Iowa, the great potato state," and the picture is Ohio. So
Oh,
hopefully Luke can relate.
that's funny. Um, yeah, because you don't really, you're the first person I met from Iowa, so it's good to meet someone
I've
who's
got
there.
like 2 or 3 followers that are from Iowa also, but I don't know that there's any other credit card content creators in my whole state. If there are, I don't know about them.
Yeah, that you have a good market there. Then you just take over, like you
Got the whole
are.
state to myself.
You
Yeah.
got the whole state. Is there anything? So I guess it is just more of like the just. Is that how you're branding it? Like just the most normal place that you could be. Nothing crazy, nothing really
Pretty
bad.
much. I mean, I know people think of agriculture. We do have a lot of corn, a lot of
Hmm.
soybeans, a lot of pigs, a lot of cows, but there are some exceptions. With most people, you're either a farmer or you're not, and the two don't really cross over that much.
Hmm.
Des Moines is kind of known as the insurance capital of the Midwest. So, like, I work for
Hmm.
an insurance company. Lots of people work for insurance company. Wells Fargo has their home mortgage division here.
Wow.
So it's just a lot of middle class, white collar people, frankly, in my circle of influence.
Hmm.
And then you drive 10 miles outside of town, and you're going to have a bunch of farms, and
Interesting.
that's what it is. I grew up in Atumwa, which is a rundown blue collar town, kind of has seen better days. Southeast
Hmm.
Iowa, right on the river, like 20,000 people. My dad grew up on a farm, but I had nothing to do with farming whatsoever. I was a
Hmm.
city kid, but not
Hmm.
not big cities. Kind of that mid-sized city.
Gotcha.
And,
Huh.
and from the cities I've visited, I think 500,000 people is kind of like that sweet spot where you've got everything you need, but it's not so big that you get frustrated and want to rip your hair out in traffic.
Yeah.
Where do you live, Anthony?
I was gonna say that's exactly we're on that cusp in Greenville, South Carolina.
Okay.
So Greenville is a 500,000 people, and it's like right on that cusp of being just maybe a little too much people. It's getting a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But also like we're out in some of the suburbs where we're in an area that's more like 20,000 population,
Hmm.
town. And Greenville is a mid-scale city, maybe a little bit higher scale. They have a lot of banks out there. But yeah, it sounds familiar. The way you're describing certain areas of Iowa is being out here as well in some of the southern. Like I've been to a lot of towns that are like population 3,000, and it's nothing. You're just driving around,
Right.
just, cows and all that stuff as well. But farmers, and then like one Wawa somewhere. I don't know. you know, you happen to see that. So that's interesting. Hmm.
Out outside of points and miles, I kind of like watching videos on like demographics and geography and that kind of stuff, like city planning. Not a lot, but a
Hmm.
little. But basically,
Hmm.
the conclusion I've come to is if you take out maybe like the 25 biggest cities in America, like every town is pretty much the same. You know, I
Hmm.
would guess if we traded places and you lived in Des Moines and I lived in Greenville, probably our lifestyles wouldn't feel that different. I mean, you got Walmart, Target, you got gas stations, you got fast food, you got fine dining, you got banks, it's just very normal, ordinary, stereotypical America.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I guess, yeah, the large corporations have really hit it's very rare that that you'll drive somewhere, which it happens out here too, but you'll drive somewhere where it doesn't have like a big corporation. But usually when you get out there, there's Dollar Generals, and that's like, you know,
Absolutely.
they're
Yeah,
taking
when we
over
were in
there.
Wisconsin last October, it was a very rural area. But sure enough, you come to intersection of like State Highway 26 and County Road G, and there's a Dollar General, like right in the middle of nowhere.
Always. Yeah, that's right. Uh, I remember we went mining once out here. It's actually oddly enough only an hour away, which is a really small area, which is literally one Dollar General within like a few mile radius. But you
Mm-hmm.
go in there to buy some shovels, and then there's a mine. I'm actually forgetting the name of it now. Something gemstone. No, I don't know. But you go there and you try to mine amethyst, or we got smoky quartz, milky quartz out there. So you go in there and whatnot. But yeah, it's reminded me of that. It's like literally just like a gravel road to get all the way down there for half a mile, and then you pull in, and
Wow.
there's a prospector standing there. I remember in a guinea tee, or a tank top, and he's like, I think. Oh, that's right. The first time we went here, I still had my New York plates on the car, and he was like, "You from New York?" That was before I changed it to South
Mm-hmm.
Carolina. He's like, "You from New York?" I was like, "No, no, no, we live here now." He's like, "All right, good." Like he was about to have a problem with this because I'm from New York, um, which is
New
a
York
it's a thing.
City.
Yeah.
Get
Huh?
a rope.
Yeah.
That's an old commercial that's probably before your time for like
Yeah.
paste pecani sauce. There'd always
That's
be
the
these
thing.
cowboys sitting around a campfire. Somebody in the comment, back me up here. Like cowboys sitting around a campfire, and like they're all talking their cowboy lingo, and then someone says something that sounds really urban, and they're like, "Where are you from?" New York City. New York City. They all say it in unison, and someone's
Yeah.
like, "Get a rope! Like we're gonna hang you just for being
Yeah.
from New York City because we
Hey,
don't like you out here in the country."
if there were more trees at that mine, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd probably be hanging, but that's how serious he was. Perfect, perfect with the pickaxe and everything. He was that guy was crazy. And then I came back like another time with my South Carolina plate, and he was like, "Oh, you guys are good." Um, that's funny. New York, everyone says that. Oh, I remember that commercial. Great I am says.
Okay, I'm not crazy.
No, Luke remembers it as well. I thought it was a Hormel chili commercial. Matt Clausen says, but Don Kim says picante salsa.
I
That's
remember
funny.
paste picante sauce, but
Wow. Um, There used to be a Radio Shack in every town. Dating myself. Oh
mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a good like one of those memes that they do online. Like, tell me you're old without telling me you're old, or one of those kind of things. It's like, oh, I had a Radio Shack, or I don't know,
Yeah,
something like that.
a KB toy store.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, where I'm from in New York, we had a few Radio Shacks before that. Circuit
Mm-hmm.
Cities, um, and then they went away. Yeah. So being from Iowa, you mentioned a few places that you would vacation. I don't know if that was today or the videos I saw, but you mentioned like some little spots that you're not trying to go like grand vacations or whatnot, but like being from where you're from, what was like to you, or what do people think is like, oh, that's a good vacation? Like when I was in New York, going to the Jersey Shore or Cape May, New Jersey, like the total end of New Jersey, was like that's a cool trip to do, and you could do it in a day. Did you have that at all in Iowa, like day trips or aspiring trips?
Yeah, so Des Moines is right at the crossroads of like four major cities. So Minneapolis to the north, Kansas City to the south,
Hmm.
Omaha to the west, and Chicago to the east. So
Hmm.
probably Chicago is the furthest of those. You can hit in about 6 hours. Kansas City 3.5 hours. Omaha 3.5 hours.
Hmm.
Minneapolis 4 hours. So all of those are kind of your day trip, 1 day overnight type things.
Hmm.
That before I got into points and miles, either our family or my peers would do. Um, the Mall of America at some point in my lifetime was a new thing in Minneapolis. Like, ooh,
Hmm.
let's go to the Mall of America, which at this point seems a little like, oh, whoop de doo. But
Yeah.
at the time it was all that and a bag of chips.
So that was like and you guys did that trip? You went?
I don't think my family
Oh
ever
no.
did. That was the rich kids, Anthony.
Gotcha. Right. That's right. Yeah, that's
Actually,
right.
my family growing up was very kind of weird. And like, I know I said earlier, like, if somebody took a fancy vacation, like, well, it must be nice to be wealthy.
Hmm.
They were also kind of hypocritical because, like,
Hmm.
every other summer we would get in the station wagon and drive to Panama City Beach, Florida. We never flew, we always drove.
Wow.
So between the age of like 5 and 18, I was probably there in Panama City Beach, Florida, 6 to 8 times.
Hmm.
And we always stayed, like, every single time except one, we stayed at this rundown hotel called In Paradise. Get it? In, like, INN,
Yes.
in Paradise. And the lady who answered the phone worked there for like 30 years, and she would answer it like this: In Paradise.
Oh my God.
And it was like a roach motel, but it was right on the beach.
Hmm.
And what's interesting is that motel stuck around until like 2018 or so. There was one of those really bad hurricanes that damaged a bunch of stuff. And then they tore it down. And on the exact spot where In Paradise was, they built a Hyatt Place. And last year I stayed in that Hyatt Place on the using points,
Yeah.
the exact location where my family used to vacation in the 80s and 90s.
Wow. Full circle. That's that must have been interesting. The circle of that must have been pretty interesting to kind of like see what it was from, I guess. Well, I don't know if you went there past 18, but I guess all those times you were going there from 5 to 18 to seeing the Hyatt Place now and being in the game now that you can
Well,
buy
and
these things.
to clarify, there was a big gap. It was like, I think shortly after we got married, probably 2003, 2004, we went there for the last time, like with extended family. My sister, her kids were little at that time. We didn't have kids yet. My folks. And then from there until 2023. So almost 20 years of not seeing it.
Yeah.
And then coming back. And what's weird is some things had changed a ton. Some things had not changed at all. Like there was a liquor store / convenience store right across the street, still there, looked exactly the same. Like look out the window at that intersection, looked exactly the same as my memory from 35 years ago.
Wow.
Of course, the hotel and the beachfront looked completely different.
Was it improved, I'd hope?
I only stayed there one night, and it was kind of overcast that morning. So I didn't get a great experience. If I went there in like June, I would probably get a much better experience.
Gotcha.
I mean, you could put out nicer beach chairs and, you know, little cabanas and stuff, but the beach is the beach.
Yeah.
It doesn't change much.
It's funny. What the hell just ran behind me? Oh God, is that supposed to maybe
I didn't
something
see
actually?
anything. You might want to look around your surroundings.
Is that car on? Oh God. It's, either way, that'll be a cool little thing. Huh? What happened? Um, I don't know. Yeah. It's funny how where we come from, at least early days, you know, growing up and whatnot. I remember my dad would take me down to Orlando, you know, go see Disney and whatnot. It was only like 2 times my entire life until Points and Miles game, and then I took myself with my now wife. But it's funny that the hotels that you stay in, you're like, this is awesome. I remember we stayed in the Roadway Inn in Kissimmee. And this place was, you know, it's the most pretty much budget hotel you can pretty much
Right.
find out there. But it was cool because it was like the connecting room, and there was a you know a pull out bed or whatever, or it came out of the wall, and then there was like a
Murphy
hot
bed.
tub. Oh, is that what you call it? Murphy bed? Yeah, so it's a Murphy bed. There's you know, like a pool in the courtyard area, and like, wow, it's a vending machine outside. I'm like, whoa, you know, it's you know, and there was nothing over there. If I'm trying to remember, it was really like I think it was just this random street in Kissimmee. We had to drive a half hour to Orlando, but it's funny to go from that and then now like my recent stay in the Thompson in Savannah, Georgia, and it was like 650 a night. I'm like, huh? This is a
Yeah.
crazy, you know, world. The differences in just, you know, a few years of age, right?
I do feel like I'm spoiling my kids a little bit. Like when I was a kid, I thought a Super 8 was like, that's pretty nice.
That was it.
Like this is a name brand hotel, not just some mom and pop place.
That's true.
And now
That's
it's like
true.
you get your own room at the Embassy Suites.
That's right. Well, I wonder, do you feel like as a parent that, you know, doing some of these trips, because I'd imagine as time goes on, you will take more and more of these more lavish trips, like abroad and whatnot, like you did. Do you ever feel like you don't want to spoil them? Like you want to show them some more Super 8s and just kind of live that life as well? Or are you managing their perspectives at all, you think?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've tried to think that through a little bit. So right now, and I reserve the right to change my mind, but I'm kind of thinking like we'll do a big international trip like every other year. So we did one in 23. We'll shoot for it again in 25. Go to Europe or Asia or something. This summer we're doing Washington, D.C., but we're going to do it in style, get nice hotels that are right in the middle of town.
Yeah, Waldorf Astoria, a normal hotel
maybe
like
not
that.
Waldorf Astoria, but like the Intercontinental at the Wharf and then Embassy Suites. Whereas, like you said, when I was a kid, you would stay at a Super 8 or a Roadway Inn 10 miles outside of town because doggone it, that saves you $20.
Yeah.
So the question is, like, do I feel like I need to get them more grounded somehow? I don't know. If anybody watching has any tips on that, I'd be glad to hear it. Like, my son is on his football team, his 9th grade football team, and they had an away game in Cedar Rapids, about 2 hours away from us. We didn't get any cereal.
No General Mills. Okay.
And it was like the game didn't get done till like 9:30, and I didn't want to drive home that night. I was like, I got points. Let's just use them. And this was right after the Choice Radisson merger. So I found a Radisson for, I think like 9,200 points a night, which is like nothing. And that was kind of some leftover points that I had. And you think Radisson sounds really like Pinky in the Air. I think this hotel was really nice when it was built in like 1992. And like they hadn't updated anything since then. And it was it wasn't terrible. I mean, it was clean, but like, there was a lot of like scuff marks on the siding. Like the smoke detector was kind of falling off the wall. And my son was like, Dad, this motel room's not very nice. And I'm like, oh, son, you don't even know.
Yeah.
So at least I exposed him to like a mediocre hotel room.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, I was wondering like a good balance. Because like if you have a bunch of choice points, maybe you can book. Wait, am I correct in saying this? You can book the Holiday Inn Expresses with Choice. Am I wrong?
Choice is not Holiday Inn. No, that's
what am I thinking of?
IHG.
Oh, IHG. What am I saying? Yeah, IHG. Like if you're building up some IHG points and whatnot, maybe you can stay at some Holiday Inns, Holiday Inn Expresses if you want that breakfast.
Yeah, but I'm fine with a Holiday Inn Express. I mean, that's still nicer than most Super 8s.
Yeah, that's true.
There's nothing wrong. I mean, if I'm traveling by myself, especially, as long as it's clean, comfortable, and quiet, I'm good. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Got it. I guess speaking from Luke's experience, because like talking about how he raises kids, on the live stream we did together, I remember he mentioned that he just wants his kid to be a citizen of the world. Someone who has explored a bunch of different regions, talked to a bunch of different people of all different cultures. Yeah, and it just like enhances their perspective. So I guess it's like you have both ends of it, and you're worried of how to manage their expectations when they're growing up. But I guess on his end, it's like if they just know everything that is of what people can offer out in the world and have seen a bunch of different things, they'll have a perspective of, I don't know, maybe an overarching perspective of the lowest and the highest, as opposed to here we're only doing budget and we're not going to live out of these nice hotels like that we could do with their points. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's a good goal. Something Debbie and I want, my wife's name is Debbie, is for our boys to just, through travel, be exposed to things you normally wouldn't be exposed to. Now, does that mean I have to go to the worst part of Chicago and stay in the worst econo lodge we can find?
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to push for that, but I do wonder, and I don't have a solution. Like, should I try to book like some really low end stuff so they know how the other half lives? I'm not sure. Not how the other half lives, how the other half travels.
Oh, and Luke actually mentioned my kid is 7, and I don't think he really knows the difference between the Waldorf and Shady Sadie's. And Chad, yeah, good point. They all look the same when you turn off the lights. Yeah, that's a good.
They don't all sound the same when you turn off the lights.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yes, that's a good point. So I also wanted to ask, for you and your your channel, you usually talk about like, I'm the average Joe, and here's my strategy because this is the most average you can get by all metrics. You said that earlier. You can be. But do you think there'll be a time in Dugroz's history where you'll maybe grow in subscribers, you get all this fame and glory, and you have all this money and stuff, that you won't be the average Joe anymore, and you'll actually be above that? You ever think about it?
Boy, wouldn't that be a terrible problem to have?
It's horrible. Yeah.
I would have to pretend to be average.
Well,
I don't
yeah.
I don't really know, and I guess right now I'm not that worried. If I end up being a high roller like Luke, that's fine. Um,
Right.
or I'm the next Ask Sebi, so it doesn't bother me. I don't think that'll probably happen. I suppose how hard would it be to do some budget travel and some aspirational? Well, that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of I've spent 20 years of my life working a regular Joe job, so I don't think it'll be hard for me to remember if and when that time would come. So
Yeah.
I'll just play it by ear, roll with the punches.
I think the only thing that will change for you is, instead of what you're wearing now being from, probably Kmart, it's going to be from Saks on Fifth, right? That's the old. I'm kidding.
I think my wife bought this at a secondhand store, actually.
Oh wow, okay, not bad. That's funny. Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, QC man, Dugroz with 100,000 talking about his trip to the Maldives. That's right. Hey, I hope that happens very soon.
Someone's gonna if you guys see me with 100,000 subscribers talking a trip to the Maldives and I sound out of touch, feel free to call me out.
I sound out of touch.
I'm not saying I'm not going. I'm still going, but
I think
you
you
can
have
call me
enough
out.
points to go, to be honest. I think I saw you have a bunch of points. I think you could, if you
Pardon?
wanted. I think you could go to the Maldives if you wanted, right? Don't you have enough points to cover it
That's
all?
funny because on not my most recent live stream, but second to most recent, I said something like this. Can we all just agree as a community to stop using the Maldives as the default
The fun.
example of where to use your free night certificate?
Oh
And I
yeah.
harken back to the interview you did with Sean Lane, where he said,
Hmm.
let's be honest, even if the flight is free and the hotels are free, it's still an expensive place to go.
Oh yeah.
Just the seaplane transfer alone is $1,500.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go outside the resort, you got to take a boat to an island. You got to pay for that. If you want to go snorkeling, it's $75 a person. So,
Hmm.
like, I think, would it be an awesome trip for someone who just got married, going on their honeymoon, and all you want to do is hang out with your new spouse? Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Is it a good place for mom, dad, and two teenage boys?
Oh god. Yeah, probably not.
That sounds kind of miserable, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. So someday when they're in college or beyond, and it's just me
Hmm.
and the missus, then we'll check out the Maldives.
As Keith said, drinking milk in the Maldives when that time
I
comes.
I will see if they have cartons or
The
not.
carton, yeah, that'd be great. On the seaplane, if they do you have some milk on the way there?
Excuse me, flight attendant.
Right? Oh, that is funny. Scar said, "You got a credit card on your shirt? Of course, man. Gotta represent. Team Classic Gold. Of course. It's not going away, even though I haven't talked about it in a bit. I just love the shirts." What was I gonna ask? Oh yeah, I'm remiss. Okay, so you know what? You wanna jump into some questions from the Discord?
That'd be fine. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And of course, if anybody has questions in the live chat and whatnot, but I found a way I could segue something, which was Joe Barretto, Credit Connection. We know and love him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he said he couldn't make it here today. He's doing something today, but he wanted to ask you, Dugroz, why you love the Wyndham. Well, I guess I don't know how many Wyndham cards you have, but I think you have the Wyndham Earner Business. I'm
Just
not
the
sure
one.
what else. Oh, just that. And I think you talked about some vacation you were able to do with the Wyndham points and whatnot. So he just wanted to know why you love it so much.
Yeah, I've done 3 of them actually,
Hmm.
and it's interesting that I don't want to get too far off track. When we have a good experience, one good experience, it
Hmm.
completely shades our view of redemption. Like,
Hmm.
one time I did this great thing, that makes it the best card ever. And I admit that I'm biased. So, um, the one that made it for me. So there is a company called cottages.com. Cottages.com is basically the Vacasa in England. It's the United Kingdom's equivalent of Vacasa. So Wyndham partners with them. So yes, I have the Wyndham Earners business card because it gets like 8x on gas, 5x on utilities. It's really easy to rack up a lot of points, especially if you're willing to do gift card buying, whether that's manufactured spending or just strategically buying like Amazon cards, those kind of things, gas station cards, Home Depot cards, whatever. You can get a lot of points easily and quickly. They also, instead of a free night certificate, they give you points every year, and I can't remember offhand if it's 15,000 or 30,000. I think it's 15,000 points a year, which is more than enough to offset that $95 annual fee. So last summer, I transferred, I don't remember the exact number. I'm thinking it was like 60,000-ish Wyndham points over to cottages.com and used that to book a cottage in Wales that was on a sheep farm, like looking out over the rolling hills of Wales. And it was like the most peaceful place I have ever been in my adult life. And I'm not exaggerating that, but like other than nature, dead quiet. I mean, sometimes the farmer would start up his tractor, but other than that, like dead quiet, like meh, moo, you know, and it's like something out of The Sound of Music or something like that.
Oh my God.
The temperature was perfect. This was like middle of July. It was like, I don't know what it was Celsius, but Fahrenheit, it never got over like 68. The humidity is very low because, you know, the United Kingdom is a big island. And it's just like, I could just sit on the balcony for like 5 weeks straight, but we only had 4 days in that cottage. So that's what Wyndham got me. And that was probably $2,000 worth of value for paying a $95 annual fee. The summer before that, we went to northern Wisconsin, got a Vacasa. This last fall, my boys and I went to central Wisconsin and got a log cabin there for a few days. So, I mean, you talk about outsized value. It's just, I don't know what, you know, cents per point is kind of modest, you know, anywhere from like 1.25 to 1.75 cents per point is not going to impress a lot of people, but it's just so easy to get the points that you can just, with hardly any effort, rack up this massive value.
That's really interesting to me. Well, for a couple of reasons, but the first thing I'm thinking of is, like you mentioned, well, of course that overseas, the Wales one is pretty amazing. Just, you know, I can imagine what that would look like, you know, for you. But even just like you said in Wisconsin, like a log cabin that you were able to book, and I've wanted to do this, go stay in a log cabin somewhere with my, you know, my wife and whatnot. But for the most part, you can't. I say can't because now I'm learning. Do that with points and miles. I have to book through Airbnb, something like that. But you're saying I can transfer it to this one company, and then so the Wyndham points transfer to the what was the name of it for the log cabins?
In America, it's Vacasa. Phil Moses put his comment. Vacasa. It's like vacation, and then the Spanish word casa for house. Vacasa. It's basically an Airbnb or a VRBO competitor. You know, they have short-term rentals in many, not all states. Like my home state of Iowa doesn't have any. But Wisconsin right next door does. Missouri has several. On the Gulf Coast of Florida, they have, and Alabama, they have truckloads. In fact, Vacasa owns whole buildings with condos in it.
Wow.
And the way it's priced is, I said transferred my points over to cottages.com or Vacasa. Technically, you don't transfer them. You just call Wyndham and they book it for you over the phone. So like you would go to the Vacasa website, find the place you want, and there are some parameters. I can get into that if you want. And then once you've identified what you want and make sure it's available, you just call them and say, can I use my points to book? It's 15,000 points per bedroom per night. If you have any of the Wyndham credit cards, you get a 10% discount. So functionally, it becomes 13,500 per bedroom per night.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And those stays were nice. Is it like a community of log cabins or just one?
No, the one I got was like out all by itself. Like totally just us. You know, they have like a keypad on the door with an electronic code you type in to let you in.
Interesting.
just like an Airbnb.
Yeah. Wow. And
Now
Fillmore
they
says
have
he's
some that are
yeah.
more like condominiums, but I haven't used any of those.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, Fillmore says he's looking at Vacasa for Pigeon Forge, which I noticed on Airbnb some Pigeon Forge log cabins. So that would be
Hmm.
something I might want to get into as well. And Artie's opinion said, was the business earner application process difficult?
For me, it was not. I applied as a sole proprietor, and it was very easy. I
Hmm.
got instantly approved. Now, since I applied, I've seen other data points saying they've gotten a little stricter. Like,
Hmm.
it might not get instantly approved. They might want to call and do an income verification or something. I think it's
Hmm.
easier as a sole proprietor. I've actually heard if you apply as an LLC or a partnership
Yeah.
or something, like then they want to see all your paperwork. Whereas if you're a sole prop, they might just want to ask you a few questions.
Yeah. Yeah. That seems to be kind of universal itself. So I think that's a good tip. That's interesting. I might even try to apply for it. Who knows? Um,
Yeah,
they have do they have a referral? No, they don't, right?
they do not. No,
Oh,
I
unreal.
have seen some data points that every now and then there's some targeted referrals emailed out to people, but I've never got one.
Gotcha.
And then
Gotcha.
I said I wouldn't get into all the details, but I'll mention this just because I feel like I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't. So
Yeah.
there's not an official published policy on like a top end price that you can get.
Hmm.
But for a long time, people thought it was around $500 per bedroom per night. So, like,
Hmm.
if you're trying to book a place that was more than $500 per bedroom per night, it would usually fail.
Oh.
Or they lowered that to about $350 per night. So
Hmm.
you can still get a lot of value and easily get that 1.25, 1.75 cents per point. But it's less likely that you're going to get the majorly outsized value of 4 or 5 cents per point.
Got it. Got it.
Whether or not that applies to the cottages in England and Wales, because that's a whole different partnership, although
Yeah.
it works exactly the same, I don't know that part.
Gotcha. Interesting. Okay, good to know. Definitely. And Anthony said a couple things. He said the first Barclays is always a pain in the butt. Easier after that for other cards. Interesting. He also said they have great Vacasa homes in Hawaii as well, which I also learned from Sean Lane. He said there's great Vacasas
Hmm.
out there. Hmm. Um. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Cool. So, Mr. Joe Barretto, that's the deal with the Wyndham
There you
card
go.
and their program, which is yeah, I could see where there's more and more people talking about Wyndham. I bet it becomes more popular. Um, kind of moving forward a little bit. Here's another question from Cesar, who's I think still in the chat. He wanted to know, Dugroz, are you cute or handsome?
I never really thought of myself as either.
That
If that's
eyebrow.
some if that's some sort of inside joke, I don't understand it. I apologize.
So not every stream, but almost every single one, I'll ask people this. He comes in. So he has this. For anyone else who is unaware, he has this rule that he follows, and it was given to him by his drill instructor. Yeah, keep that face. You just did one eyebrow. um, so he had a drill instructor who told him like, you're not exceptional at anything, right? You're not. Really good looking. You're not. You just have to work hard, and that's how you're going to become successful. But something else that he told them was that if you're 6 feet tall and above, you're handsome, and if you're below 6 feet tall, so fives and whatnot, you're cute, and that's how you, that's how you range there. So knowing that, are you handsome or cute?
Oh, okay. I guess I'm cute because I'm 5'11" with shoes on.
Oh no, I don't even know if
Sorry.
it's good or bad, to be honest. I'm cute as well for Caesar's metric there. So
Which one thing that's weird, and I think there's some inside joke that I don't know about because I heard it referenced from
hmm.
I think Luke once. I heard it referenced by Stan the Credit Frog once. Like, well, not all of us can be 6'7" like Spencer Johnson.
Well,
And then I went to the creator meetup and I stood next to Spencer and we're like the exact same height. So I have no idea what that's all about. Do you know?
of course. The only thing I know is when I stood next to Spencer, and I'm 5'9", he was all the way up here. He was 6'7". So I don't know who you met, but I know Spencer to be 6'7". Sometimes 6'6". It depends who you're talking to, but
Okay.
he's about
You
that.
must have a body double or something. I can show you the picture.
Yeah, man. He's no, I mean you don't have. I mean the picture will reveal that he is like a full head above you, man. That's just what.
Have fun, guys.
I have fun.
You kids and your weird inside jokes.
Spencer is a basketball star. Yeah, that's funny. We'll yeah. I even asked him on his live stream. I said, "Hey, go stand next to that door," and he did. He was like as tall as the door, which is pretty crazy.
Huh.
So
Maybe I had on extra tall shoes that day or something.
yeah, elevator shoes. So, yeah, it's something. Spencer is 7'6". He just gets taller and taller. He
I'm sure
towers.
this legend is just going to grow over time.
Oh yeah, it's the best. You know what's funny? He actually we were on a stream. I think it was our first stream together, and I think he said that people actually reached out to him. No, there was like a group on Reddit or something, like the over 6 foot club, and they like reached out to him to come join, like six, like really tall. He was like, "Man, this became way worse than I could imagine."
Who started it?
Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Somebody definitely wasn't me on the, like 8 months ago, 9 months ago, and just kept it going. Yeah, he's I let people know. I revealed his true height.
Okay.
That's great. Uh, I wanted to know as well. I didn't understand this question, but I'm just gonna ask it to you because I'm assuming you do. The energy god Abdullahi, he asked you, when will be the next award-winning intro?
I wasn't aware that I had won any awards, so I'm not really sure.
Neither am I.
I wonder if what he's referencing is, and like I said, the whole with Dugroz reports is just a habit for the sake of a habit and being memorable.
Yeah.
But I also have kind of memorized my standard, like, here's what my channel's about. Don't forget to like and subscribe thing.
Yeah.
To the point where it's almost robotic. And I accidentally left it out of my last couple videos. So I'm wondering if he's wondering when it's coming back.
Interesting. I'm not sure.
And then someone was like, hey, I like the fact that you didn't put your, like, please like and subscribe to the very end. And I said, honestly, I just plain forgot.
Oh my god. Yeah, it happens. That's funny. Phil Mo said he's 6'2", so he's handsome. Phil Mo said, standing next to Spencer, I'm cute though. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Luke said Spencer plays basketball for the University of Texas. Caesar's having a good time. That's great. Yeah, I love these so much. These are always so fun. Sledge, he had a question too. Oh yeah, John, you're handsome, cute on the cusp, I guess. So Sledge had a question for you. We know and love him. He said, "Who is your favorite credit card creator other than yourself?" I feel like if you don't say Sledge, he's gonna be upset. But I mean,
I feel like I mean,
unbelievable.
I don't want to say I watch all of them. That would be disingenuous. I don't have time to watch everyone.
Yeah.
But like all the people that are here right now, I do. You and Luke and Stan and Sledge and everyone. I even kind of watch Cesar's videos. I don't understand them, but just, I'll tune in for a minute or two and I'll put a fire emoji down below to show support.
Right.
Which the funny thing about that is, since I've been doing that, I'm now getting quite a few YouTube commercials in Spanish because they think I speak Spanish, even though I don't.
That's funny.
I guess, okay, I'll break it down into two different pieces, since that was a really non-committal answer. I guess there's kind of a special place in my heart for Luke and Chad, since they're the two people that kind of helped me when I was having the burnout thing and pushed me over the hump to get 1,000 subscribers. So that's a debt of gratitude that I try to repay by watching their stuff. And then probably the creator that I most commiserate with, because I think our brains work alike, is Stan the Credit Frog. He's just very analytical.
Yeah.
It's like the same brain as me. He's just better at editing.
He's good. Yeah. Gotcha.
Excuse me.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely heavy hitters there. Love it. Love it. Sledge is okay. It's all right. Sledge is in all of our hearts. Let's be honest. He's the favorite of everybody. Cesar said, "I'm starting to get subscriber burnout because he watches every single video." Oh my god, Jesus. And I feel like we all have a special place in our hearts for Chad. Of course, man. Chad's the man.
Yeah, and
As
I've
Chad
got a
said.
special place for Cesar too. Like I said, I don't speak Spanish, so I don't understand what he's saying. But
Yeah.
I said something once like he's my biggest fan, and then someone said he's everyone's biggest fan. So we
Yeah.
appreciate him.
Yeah. Honestly. Um. Oh, I guess you know what. Speaking of something, something I actually also had written here. Something you did recently. So in the same way that some people reacted to your burnout video, you also did your own reaction to Jake Mercure's "We're Screwed" video. Um,
Yeah.
ha- I didn't actually watch. I don't think I even finished either one. To be to be honest, I think I saw it real quick and then I was doing stuff. I think I understood the general gist of it though. Talking about what just getting a cash discount somewhere and then and whatnot. So how was that? Just the reaction to what he's been saying?
Yeah. Well, I kind of felt like the reaction, his concern makes sense. And it was a little bit of just stream of thought. But as I understand it, basically he went to like a Chinese restaurant and there was a sign that said, we'll give a cash discount. And how much is it? It's 10%. Like 10 flipping percent. Like there's no reward that's going to make up for 10% discount. So I might as well use cash.
Hmm.
Well, is this a situation where like lots of small businesses kind of want to hide their income, especially food business, so they have to pay taxes on it? And like, so what he thought's gonna happen is all these businesses are trying to hide their income because they don't want to pay credit card transaction fees. So the IRS and Congress is going to get mad at banks and pressure them to lower their interchange fees. And of course, when they lower their interchange fees, that means all of our benefits get lowered.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was kind of the first thrust. And to that, I just said, hang in there. This kind of fear it's sort of like, oh, young man, pat you on the head. We've all been through this before and you're experiencing it for the first time.
I see.
It's kind of like this sort of thing has been threatened for the entire 5-year period I've been in the game, even a little before that. Like, this is the end of points and miles. I bet you can go back to 2017 and find some videos that say, are points and miles over as we know it? There's always going to be something. So that's my first point. And then my second point, which was the greater point, and this is going to be a controversial take, but I'm going to say it anyway. And he was like, man, this is going to make it so like everyday spend is pointless, and you're either going to have to give up entirely or just become a sign-up bonus hunter. Sign-up bonus hunting is where it's at. And for those of us that have a normal, ordinary income, that's how it has been. That's how it always will be. I mean, the difference between getting 2x everywhere on your City Double Cash and 3x on your City Premier on dining, unless you're spending a truckload of money, that's not going to amount to very much. Let's say I spend $10,000 a year on dining. Just what's the difference between 2x and 3x? Well, it's 10,000 points. What's the sign-up bonus I'm going for on the Business Gold right now? It's 150,000 points. So you do that one sub, you've blown your 3x out of the water by a factor of 15.
Yeah.
So there are some exceptions, like business owners who run hundreds of thousands of dollars through credit cards every year. But like, I did a budget in 2018, the year before I got into points and miles, and calculated, there's some things you can't pay for a credit card with easily, like a mortgage. But if you take those things out, I can only run about $50,000 a year through a credit card. And I think a lot of people are in that same situation. So no matter how I maximize that 50,000 points, it's still like, let's say I go from 3x to 4x, I got an extra 50,000 points. Well, if you do 4 or 5 sign-up bonuses a year, you're going to blow that 50,000 points out of the water. So you should be focusing on your sign-up bonuses. Like I said, there are some exceptions. Like one person said he owned a construction business and, has gotten like the big spend bonus on like this card, this card, this card, this card. Well, yeah, if I was buying $150,000 worth of construction materials every month too.
Yeah.
But for most ordinary people, the value you get from sign-up bonuses is going to be so much bigger than ordinary spend. Don't worry about ordinary spend. If you go to the record store and accidentally put it on a 2x card instead of a 3x card, for a $4 purchase. Oh no, you lost 4 points. Don't lose sleep at night over it.
Yeah.
That was kind of my thrust.
No, I mean, I I obviously agree with the videos I've been making lately, and just in card after in card, putting rent on it and whatnot. It's like it's
Hmm.
kind of how I've always done it. I've made videos talking about some things, but usually my overall theme is just like that's the only reason I got a lot of these cards. Bonus, and I could get some extra benefit along the way, sure. For the most part, bonus after bonus after bonus, and that's all. That's all it really matters. It's like I don't know why. It depends. Like I have so little spend too, so my rent now is like awesome that I could just throw. I never had rent before, so I could just throw a bunch of
Hmm.
cards on the rent, and now I'm hitting bonuses like never before.
Are you able to pay rent by using something other than Built?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been using my ink cards to
Like
pay
they
rent.
straight up just accept credit cards?
Yeah, yeah. It's just an online portal, so I can use any card I want.
Do you have to pay a fee?
Yeah, it's 3%.
Okay, well, yeah, and if you're getting the equivalent
Yeah,
of 12% cash back, that's totally worth doing.
I figured every 3 months I could get an ink card. I'm paying 135 worth of fees, but I'm getting back what at least like 250,000 UR points. So it's like it's not even close how much outsized return I'm getting just by paying that small fee.
Yeah.
I don't really care about that. Um,
And that ties a little bit back into the burnout topic we talked about at the beginning.
hmm.
Like I said, before I got burnout, I was trying to maximize every single penny,
Mm,
get my 5% back at Burger King, get my free
hmm.
toothpaste at CVS. And eventually I just said, you know what? No more small fish. I'm just worrying about the big fish. Now, don't get me wrong. If I go to a restaurant, I'm still going to use a card with a dining modifier.
Hmm.
If it's
Yeah.
dining modifier and I'm working on a sub on the same card, even better. But, I went to a secondhand store and bought a couple records. It was like $4.83. And I looked down at the counter and it says, we do not take American Express.
Hmm.
So they didn't take Amex. They didn't take Tap to Pay. So I couldn't use my Altitude Reserve. And it's like, what do I have? Like, well, here's my Aeroplan card. It's only $1 per point.
Yeah.
It was a $5 purchase, Doug. Let's not lose sleep at night. So
Yeah.
that was a piece of getting over my burnout too, is just getting over the mental hurdle of like, if you don't maximize every single $10 purchase,
Mm,
who cares?
yeah.
You're getting the big fish. If you can get 4 to 7 big fish a year, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it actually is a similar school of thought to the people who want to save every penny versus just earn more. I think it might be on the same kind of vein as that. Like, yeah, I could just maybe I don't know, ask for a raise or change jobs on a grander scale, obviously, than credit cards.
Yeah.
Or should I try to get the $2? I mean, should I get the $7 meat instead of the $8 one? Like which,
Hmm.
you could do both, but maybe you get a little burnout by trying to do both. Who knows?
And I will admit that I'm kind of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde because I want to maximize every single penny.
Yeah.
And I am tempted to do it while also preaching it's not a big deal if you don't. So
Yeah.
like it did kind of bother me that I only got 1 cent per point on my $4.75 purchase, even though it shouldn't.
Yeah, the record spending. He's just the guy at the record store is like, "What's going on, Doug? What's happening? You're bending the record in half." Oh, that's
Like,
funny.
yeah, the cashier, she probably thought like I barely had enough money. And I was like, oh, I hope I don't go
Yeah,
over
I
on my
know.
credit card. When I'm thinking like, okay, what's the modifier on this card?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, they don't take Amex. 2 of these are Amex. Oh no.
That's right. Yeah, I feel like that too sometimes. Yeah, that's a good. That's a funny thing. Yeah, like I'll be like, oh wait, no, not this one, or like flip the card. No, this one definitely. Yeah. I wonder if people are wondering, like, it's like, oh yeah, you're about to default, like a second away from defaulting. I'm like, oh yeah.
Probably what it looked like.
Um. Oh yeah, John. I am Dugroz now, reaching up into the sky, yelling, "No! How could I? How could I lose my 4 points?" But yeah, I'm definitely with that for sure. Um. Which is honestly why, like, I saw a comment actually mentioned, like, let's just keep everything simple. I think it was the Delta video that I just did. He's like, let's keep everything simple. Just get a bunch of no annual fee cards, like Sit 'em Custom Cash or whatnot, for your category spend. Get a saver one, get your groceries and everything, and then just do welcome offer hunting. It's like that's literally the simplest thing you could do because you'll have 3 core cards maybe more, who knows? And then just infinite for
Yeah.
all, bonuses and whatnot. So I think that's
And
smart.
even then, I think to myself, like, okay, so if you had a strategy that was sub hunting plus 3 to 4 core cards, you're going to get this. What if you had a strategy that was sub hunting plus everything else goes on a 2x card? Is that going to be dramatically different? It depends on how you spend. If you're pulling down $35,000 a year and living in a small apartment, probably going to be a very minimal difference. Now, you could say, like, well, if your money's that tight, every point counts, and that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, Luca actually just mentioned welcome offers are not infinite. You'll eventually get to a point where they are tough to get, which is something I actually mentioned on a video like in the summertime. It was like maybe 5 months ago, 6 months ago, and I was like, "What are we thinking about the long term?" And so that, like, what happens when all the bonuses go away? Like, I already got all the major card bonuses. Like, what happens when there's no more good ones left? What do we do? We just stranded? I actually left a comment on his stream yesterday because the topic came up. I was like, "What happens when there's no more, bonuses?" And some people said you could just rinse and repeat in cards, but then again, can you really? I don't know. How long can you get with that? What happens to us?
I haven't hit that point yet for the most part, and I wonder, like, I'd like to hear from people that have, you know, is it a big concern? Is it a situation where, like, you can't get any more Amex Platinums, but you can get other stuff? Or is it literally like, I've burned through every major issue, and now I'm looking up some miscellaneous credit union in North Dakota you've never heard of before to get a $75 sign-up bonus?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I don't know anyone that's there, but I suppose they exist.
Luke, he said he has a very difficult time.
South Dakota Credit Union.
Well, it's funny. He was talking about hitting up some of the credit unions on his live yesterday, but I think it's more so for like the Alliant or whatnot for the 5% cash back and whatnot. But he said he has a hard time getting bonuses right now.
And we'll just have to see. Since I got into the game, I've only been declined for 2 credit cards ever. One was I applied for the IHG business card. I have it now, but at the time I was over 524. So I knew there was a fair chance I'd get declined. It was just sort of an experiment, thinking like, well, maybe if I do a dummy booking of a room and apply through the IHG app, like, nope, they still denied me.
Really?
So that almost doesn't count. But the one and only time I've been denied for something other than 524 was like in November, I applied for the city double cash and they denied me. Because it usually doesn't have an intro bonus, and it did. And I'm like, well, I have 3 city cards. I'd like to go to the full quadfecta, and they won't let me. And the lady on the phone said, well, it's probably because you just applied for the custom cash in August. And sometimes I know they just make stuff up, so who knows how accurate that is. But
yeah, that's true.
Even after calling recon, they still wouldn't let me. And most people will say, and I agree, city is velocity sensitive. So maybe that's a harbinger of things to come, that I am going to hit the end of my rope here soon. And I'm going to have to be looking for obscure credit union bonuses.
Oh, no.
But there's also like bank account bonuses. I mean, look at RJ's going after everything under the sun.
That's true.
Like, I can start concentrating on those.
That's a good point. Yeah. And there's always somewhere to take advantage, I guess, right? That's funny.
I hope so.
Actually, Michael Pythium, what's going on, Mike? He needs someone to make a video on purchasing points. He says, I purchase points all the time, but never really see anybody in space speaking on it. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. Actually, off the top of my head, Sean Lane, again, the BS podcast, they have a whole podcast dedicated to like when to buy points. Have you talked about buying points at all?
One time, it was just very recently, actually. So IHG had one of their specials where you can buy in at a half penny each.
Oh, yeah. And
that just expired yesterday. So unfortunately, that offer is not on the table right now, but it'll probably come back around. I didn't go into depth, but just sort of like a FYI, and I gave 2 or 3 examples of where it might make sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, it depends. So a lot of these, will go on sale. Hilton has like the double, or Hyatt will also have sometimes double the allotted, and it will be like 20-30% off, something like that. So it depends if you have a redemption. Like Luke said, he just said he buys Hilton and IHG every single year, whatever the max is. I wonder if you're also like putting that like a card that you have to hit minimum spend on. Like, oh, I just got it, Ink Preferred. Okay, cool. Have to hit 8K spend. Well, if you buy max points on Hilton and IHG, you're probably like halfway there, maybe a little more. Um,
Yeah,
so you can work. You can
and
work it.
that's
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Hmm.
That's where like a hybrid strategy is good, where if you're only doing points, you don't have any money with which to buy those points. So if you can mix in a little bit of cash back,
Yeah.
build up a pot of $300, $500. And I can't speak to programs other than Hilton or IHG, but those are the two when they go on sale for half point each are almost always worth buying in on, especially if you have a specific redemption in mind.
Definitely. Definitely. Interesting. Okay. And are you good on time?
I'm good, yeah.
Cool, cool. I wanted to know something too, because still learning a bit about you. Matt Clausen, when I mentioned earlier today that you were going to be on the podcast, he just left a comment stating so many freedoms. Uh, is that a thing?
So between my wife and my wife and I each have a Freedom and a Freedom Flex.
Hmm.
Up until recently, she had a second Freedom. So between the two of us, we had 5.
Oh my gosh.
I did cancel one of them, so now we're down to 4.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Just did you get bonuses on all of them?
Yes.
Nice.
And all but the first one, we referred each other. So
Very nice. Wow. See, like
yeah.
even that alone is like
Player
100K.
2 referral chain.
Hell yeah. Um,
And I'm
yeah.
good with, I can often max out the Freedoms or the Freedom Flex, at least like 3 out of 4. Because they're such useful categories like grocery, pharmacy, PayPal.
Yeah.
If you're willing to buy gift cards, obviously that becomes even easier.
That's where I'll say like multipliers for me really count. When I was moving recently to this apartment, when we used her Flex PayPal category for like all the furniture, everything. A lot of it was PayPal. We ended up getting like 20,000 points or something like that. I was like, that's decent Hyatt stay, from transferring it over there. They were just spend we were going to do anyway. So that's like the one case for me. I'm like, that's pretty good.
And
Hmm.
CVS Pharmacy is the only place I know of where you can pay with PayPal in person.
Oh.
And the Freedom Flex card gives, well, they will say 3x on pharmacy, but really it's your normal 1 plus 2 more. So if PayPal is the category and you pay with PayPal at a CVS, you actually get 7 points per dollar.
Whoa, that's pretty interesting. That's good to know.
And they sell Amazon gift cards.
Oh my god. Oh no. The dark side. The gift cards. That's pretty cool though. Keith asked you, with so many, chase cards that you have, do you have to move credit limits around, or do you have any issues with that?
Yes, I have had issues with that, but Chase is super flexible about it. Just call and ask and they'll move it around. You can't move from business to personal, but within business, within personal, like let's say I know I need to make like the IHG business card. If you spend $20,000 in a year, you get their big spend bonus. Now it's not the biggest bonus in the world. It's 10,000 extra points and a $100 statement credit, but something. So like, if I was close to that amount anyway, like say I'd spent 14,000, I just need an extra 6,000, it would be worth doing. But maybe I've only got a $4,000 credit limit, so just call them and say, hey, can I move $5,000 of credit from my Ink card over to the IHG card because I'm gonna make one large purchase or something like that. It's easy to do.
Okay. Huh. Good to know. Definitely good to know. Um, oh god, I haven't asked this question in a while, but Ravenous came in and he wanted to ask you. He wanted to ask, okay. So you ever go on my channel before? You ever see like the top, like my goal, 10,000 subscribers? Stay
Yes,
at the
and you'll
most
stay at the
dangerous
world's
hotel.
most dangerous hotel.
Yes. He wants to know if you would go there for the next creator meetup.
I think I'd pass. I don't know a lot about that, but I did watch a YouTube video about it probably 8 years ago.
Oh wow,
Like
really?
somebody made a hotel out of an old oil platform or something, right? in the middle of the ocean.
I don't know if it was ever used for oil, but I know it was a lighthouse.
Maybe that's what it was.
He bought it I think he bought it 50 years ago or something like that. It's just one guy running it now. And you have to get there by helicopter, and it's mandatory 3 days. You have to stay there, but you can do like skeet shooting. And I always I say the same thing. But yeah, he's been wanting to. He said the next creator meetup should be there. Like everybody in Vegas.
Do they take points?
No, it's
I don't think
$1,500
that's gonna
cash.
work then.
Yeah, it's expensive. 1,500 cash, but I'm looking to like maybe get it for free. Maybe I can give him plus publicity. Who knows? Maybe I can work it. I don't know. I gotta talk to that guy. Maybe I can have
If
him
you
on the
got
podcast.
10,000 subscribers, it would be worth it.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. And it'd just be so funny to actually be there.
I'd love to see it. I like weird and quirky, out of the way places. In fact, one thing that kind of disappoints me just a little bit is, you know, in the world of points and miles, you can't stay at the super unique places usually.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, like on our honeymoon, we stayed in a bed and breakfast that was inside of a lighthouse. Not in the middle of the ocean, but in Michigan.
Still.
Like, that's not a Hilton. That's not a Hyatt.
Yeah.
So there's no way to use points, you know, obviously indirectly with maybe like a altitude reserve, real-time rewards or something like that. But
yeah.
I would like to think of more creative ways to do that.
I know.
I'm staying at a bed and breakfast, not an Airbnb tiny house in West Virginia one day in April. And that's just because I had this stupid idea like 2 years ago to buy a $1,000 Airbnb gift card. There was like a 6-month period where Chase let you pay yourself back for Airbnb. Yep. Do you remember that? And like, and again, I mentioned earlier, like you have one good experience and it totally colors your view on things. Yeah. So like I stayed at an Airbnb in Virginia. Oh shoot, I'm blanking on the name of the town. It's where the Revolutionary War was won. Yorktown, Virginia, like right next to the historical monument. Fabulous stay. So I'm like, surely all Airbnbs are this great. Let's just buy $1,000 gift card. And since then I've used it once at like a one-night apartment. So I still have like $800 of Airbnb credit left.
Wow.
Okay, that was kind of a dumb thing, Doug. Shouldn't have done that. Oh well. Live and learn.
You're gonna have to sell it on the black market or something.
I mean, I'll use it eventually, but it's just devaluing. Those properties are getting more expensive.
I used to only do, oddly enough, Airbnbs, even while I was getting credit cards. I was like, I just didn't think to book it with the points necessarily at that time. It was like a small little section, but I remember there was a few trips within 6 months, and it was all Airbnb. Until we had one bad experience, and then we just said, let's go to hotels where it's more predictable.
Right.
You know, but you could get some cool ones like that, you know, tiny house or something. That's for sure. Keith said he was buying me a life jacket for the most dangerous hotel, and appreciate that. Caesar says 10K this year. Who knows? We'll see what happens. As long as I release another 1,000 shorts, maybe you'll get there. That's funny. Couple more questions from the Discord here. Okay. Matt Clausen wanted you to ask you, which issuer are you not mad at, but the most disappointed with? Wonder if it's a Wells Fargo dig.
Well, Matt loves Wells Fargo. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know he loves them.
I guess I'm disappointed with Wells Fargo. They, you know, psyched us out on the transfer partners and then didn't come through on that. But that's not that big of a deal. Yeah. So, it's not Chase. I'm good with them. They make me happy. It's not Capital One. I'm fine with them. So I guess it would either be Citi or Amex. I would have to narrow it down to one of those two. Amex is just annoying because everything's a coupon book now. I mean, that's part of the reason I'm canceling the Business Platinum. I'm just sick of dealing with it. And I won't go into great details there because you could find 50 videos right like that just by searching for the topic of not liking Amex right now. Yeah. Citi is cool because they offer the 1 to 2 transfers to Choice Hotels. And I think I found one really good Choice Hotel, so now I'm wanting to do it again and again and again. Who knows? That might burn out. I don't like the fact that they denied me. I don't like the fact that it's hard to quickly build up points. So, I guess I would say Citi if I had to for that reason. You know, they don't have the travel protections on their cards anymore. They took away the Prestige card 2 years
Hmm.
ago and said they were going to bring it back, and they still haven't, nor have they come out with any alternative.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, and then U.S. Bank has had this. Are you familiar with the U.S. Bank IT issue they've been having for like a month?
The mobile wallet thing?
Yeah.
No, yeah, the mobile wallet thing with the altitude
Yeah, like, so
reserve.
you're supposed to get 3x on your mobile wallet, but like 40% of their customers will only be getting 1x, including me. So like, that's kind of obnoxious, but
Yeah.
as long as they fix it eventually, I'll let it go.
Yeah, did you say that they're going to grant you all the points that you should have earned on all your mobile wallets?
That's what they said. And yet, when I asked what the correct number of points is, the response was something like, well, we don't have any way of calculating that.
Oh, great, yeah.
It's like, we will give you the correct amount of points in the future. Well, what's the correct amount of points?
It's like the IRS. It's like getting audited. Like, you're going to have to tell them, and then they'll say, no, it's not right. Just tell them 100K, 100K points, a lot of mobile wallet purchases, That'd be funny if they actually just gave it to you. Okay. Yeah, it's funny because he just mentioned that when he asked the question, for him, it was between Citi and US Bank. So, yeah, you guys are in the same school of thought there. For sure.
And I know a lot of people get upset with US Bank because they're hard to get approved for, which is true. I'm fortunate that I had a banking relationship with them before I even got into the game. So they never gave me any grief with approvals.
Gotcha.
I think they're very relationship oriented at US Bank. They want you to be a longtime customer.
Yeah, I remember when that Shopper Cash Rewards card came out a year or so ago. Everybody was signing up for US Bank like checking accounts. You're like, we're relationship based. Sign up for the account, and then going to apply for it if they were. That was another card that had a lot of hype and then kind of died out. Richie asked you a very important question, as he always has, which was Adam West, Michael Keaton, or Christian Bale.
Adam West, 100%. I liked the original Batman series when I was a kid. No, I'm not that old, but like in the early 90s, they showed replays of it, and I just thought it was the bomb.
Gotcha. Is this one of those like really controversial topics? Who's the best?
I didn't think so.
Okay. Well, I think Richie didn't think so. I think he's probably. I have a feeling he'll. Yeah, good answer. I knew it.
If you want like the full nerd answer, I actually collected Batman comic books for like 8 years.
Oh.
As a teenager, and the comic book Batman is not like any of the movie Batman. So if I was to be honest, I'd say like the 90s comic book Batman was my favorite.
Gotcha. Okay. Richie probably will appreciate that too. Richie's like the biggest freaking dork. I swear to God, he is. Richie only talks about Star Wars. I am also. Oh, we all are, I guess, right? And the last question from John. John, of course, we love John. He's, I think he's still here. He asked, what has been the best redemption for flights and hotels? Not the highest, like I guess cent per point is what he means. That ended up being the best travel/vacation experience so far. So maybe not the best redemption, but the best redemption experience-wise for you.
You mean like the process of doing the redemption was the best, not necessarily cents per point?
The stay. No, the stay. The best experience you've had, where you went somewhere and was like, this is a great place.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it sounds trite, but probably going to Sweden was the best.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it wasn't easy. I had to search points.me for like 3 months in a row to find the availability.
Yeah.
Once I found it, I mean, the process wasn't really hard at all. Just transferred from, I think I sent most from Amex, a little bit from Capital One over to Flying Blue. And there was a transfer bonus on both those at the time, and booked them. And that was pretty easy. It was just finding the availability was tough. But in terms of like being rewarding, that's somewhere my wife's always wanted to go. So I scored big husband points, and those are hard to beat.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's great. How long did you stay out there? I didn't really ask.
We were, England plus Sweden together, United Kingdom, technically. United Kingdom plus Sweden put together was 11 days.
Wow.
The Sweden part was at the end. That was the last 3 days plus a travel day.
Got it. And you stayed in Well, when was the Vacasa out
That
there?
was in Wales, which is part of the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And the people who are really pedantic will say England is a part of the United Kingdom, so don't use England and United Kingdom interchangeably. But sometimes I do kind of in just a colloquial sense.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So, but the United Kingdom, yeah, Wales was where the cottages.com cottage was, which I said was the
Gotcha.
most serene place I'd ever stayed. But like, just like the coolest town was in Sweden. It's Gothenburg, Sweden. They say Göteborg. It's one of those towns that has an English name and a Swedish name, and they say it's totally okay to use either one. It's the second largest town in Sweden, and Sweden's not a big country. There's only like 3 million people in the whole country.
Oh wow.
So again, kind of that 500,000 population range. It's the second biggest airport in the country, and it's just like, it's probably miserable in winter, but we went in summer. Like, you know, if somebody just designed like the prettiest, most peaceful city, that's what it was. Like, there's this massive private garden in the middle of the city. I say private because it's owned and maintained by a club, a charity, but it's open to the public for free. You don't have to pay to go in. You know, they've just got like flower gardens and like man-made waterfalls and that kind of stuff. It's right on the ocean. There's a canal. You can take a boat through the canal. You can take a boat on the ocean and look around. Yeah. So that was our favorite.
Not bad, man. And I had one last question for you. And my last question is, it's so stupid, but it popped in my head when I was watching one of your videos, and you said something like, "Oh, Capital One." I think you were recounting. I think it was your memory lane credit card video, and you were talking about all the cards that you got just from like inception to now, and you were talking about, you're like, I didn't know why I even applied for a Capital One card. Like, why did I even do that? He's like, oh, you were like, oh, maybe I saw a commercial that said, "What's in your wallet?" And I was like, I got intrigued or something. And my first, for whatever reason in my head, I wanted to ask you as soon as that came up. I was like, did we steal the credit card community? Did we steal the "What's in your wallet? What's in my wallet" phrase from Capital One?
I think we did. Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm aware, you know,
Seems
for a
like
long
it.
time it was Samuel L. Jackson, and then it became Jennifer Garner. And
Yeah.
actually, if you go back even before this has to be 10 years ago. And I don't know if this would be in your memory or not. There were the Viking commercials for Capital One, where it was a bunch of like, it was like cultures colliding. So you'd have a bunch of like Viking warriors like run into like a McDonald's restaurant or something like that, and like smash tables. And then I don't know how, but they always tied it back into credit cards. And at the end, one of the Vikings would say, "What's in your wallet?" Like in a Viking Raider voice.
Oh my God.
So I mean, that, even though Jennifer Garner's been able to be doing it for 5 years, the phrase has been around for at least 15 years, if not longer.
Gotcha. Yeah, I really wanted to know if this is just a stolen phrase, but it seems like we have. I think it is. Capital One's smart, man. They did it well. Um, Don Kim and Richie both said the Vikings were the best. Yeah, man. I'll be honest. I'm getting a little like annoyed. I'm watching. Oop, I'm watching freaking. What am I watching? I think I'm watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine recently. A lot. Um, Ever since learning about it from Jake. And every commercial is Jennifer Gardner, like in a garden. She's like a farmer or whatever. She's like, "Oh, I have a business. This is why I use my Ventrex business card."
Yeah.
And now my wife's calling her Jennifer Gardener, because she's always in the garden. And every single commercial she's on here talking about the Ventrex. I'm like, what are you doing? It's, I don't know. It's just a big issue I have with her at the moment. But she's great in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Um,
Something else that bothered me early on when I got into the credit card game was their commercials always talked about how superior their cards were because you get double miles on every purchase.
Yeah.
And they never defined what a mile was, what it was worth. So, like, I mean, I know, but the average person has no clue.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, the IHG business card gives 3 points per dollar on all purchases. That's triple miles. Well, unless you know that they're only worth maybe 0.5 to 0.7 each.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome, but never once in the commercials do they mention like, what is that redeemed for? Is that 1% cash back, 2%? And I'm sure they want to be vague in the marketing on purpose, but it's always like, I have this hypothetical scenario in my head. Like if I ever met Jennifer Garner in person, I would ask her like, "Hey, do you really use Capital One?" "Oh yeah." "You say double miles. How much is each mile worth?" And just see what she says. I'm sure she'd be like, "I have no clue. I have an accountant who does that for me."
It's just like, get
Just
the hell
read
out of
the
my face.
script.
She get out of my face, security, and then that's it. And then that's how
Um,
that interaction will go.
yeah.
Oh
Pierre, could you
god.
take care of this loser, please?
Right. That's funny. Yeah, maybe that's a thing. We just have to confront, all of them. Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, that's true. I wonder if it is intentional. Well, obviously it's intentionally vague, but I wonder what is it in the marketing that says 2x miles is better to say than a $300 travel credit, because I never hear them talking about the travel credit. It's like, here's the 2x miles. So I'm like, I wonder, you know, I don't know. Wonder why. Um, Oh, Keith, what's going on, man? 5 spot, appreciate you, man, for the Aldi shopping fun. Amex Gold
Thank
holds Forex there. Nice live, Anthony and Doug. Appreciate you, man.
you.
I will say, I ever since you talked about it in the Discord, I meant to go to Aldi's. I will do that very soon. However, I will say I go to Food Lion and I also get Forex with the gold. So I'm just saying, there's an equal thing there. But I think Aldi's, from what he said, has all the turkey burgers and rice that I could want, and that's all I eat. So that's yeah, I'm excited for that. But thank you, Keith, as well, and Philmo, of course, and Woodsy for the super chats today. I really appreciate it. And then Abdullahi said, "No intro question." We did, but no one understood it. Sorry. Why am I screaming at him? Yeah, Abdullahi's the one that asked you. What was the question? The question was. Well, we'll go back to it. Now you're gonna
Mhm.
make me feel bad. He said, "When will be the next award-winning intro?" So we talked about it. We pondered. We didn't really fully understand.
We kind of took a guess as what the question meant. I'm not sure if we hit the nail on the head or not. So
Yeah,
if we
I mean,
need
if
to
you
be more specific, Abdullahi, let us know.
unless you meant to say what will be the next award-winning intro instead of when. Oh god, he said no one understood. Yeah, man, no one understood. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. Did you mean what? What's the next intro? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Kevin Hart uses his Freedom Unlimited. Interesting. Because the travel credit with Capital One is annoying. But imagine the marketing. They'd be like, "Wow, if you sign up for this card, you get $300. We'll just give you $300." They could just market it like that. We'll give you $300 to travel with. You know, I feel like that isn't that a sell, or maybe no? They must know better than I.
Well, I don't know. Another one I think of is the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I've been seeing a lot of commercials for it recently, and there's some average looking dude who like goes to a fancy hotel, and there's like a fancy restaurant inside the hotel, and it says something like, and he's eating like high end sushi or something. It's like,
Hmm.
and with the Chase Sapphire Prefer, you get, I don't remember how they word it, but like credit towards hotel stays every year. And it's like, they must be talking about their like $50 hotel portal.
Uh,
And I'm like, that $50 probably paid for like 2 of those shrimp. So
hmm.
you're kind of exaggerating there. You're not going to stay at the Waldorf Astoria for a week on that $50
Right.
credit.
Right. That's funny. Yeah, man. The power of marketing. Um, Matt Clausen said, "Oh, the State of the Union one." And Cesar also said, "Did a video with a
Oh,
very good intro."
okay.
What's the deal here? What
Yeah,
happened?
I did a video towards the end of last year called State of the Cards.
Hmm.
And for the first like 2 minutes, I pretend to be the president giving the State of the Union address and like
Oh,
walking down the aisle and shaking hands with people, which is really just my kids and a bunch of stock footage mixed in.
wow. Okay, Abdullahi just came in. His favorite video of the year. I'm sorry to scream at you, Abdullahi. I was
Okay,
like,
now I get the intro. Okay, yeah. It,
gotcha.
I don't know. A lot of effort for not a lot of reward. So I'm not sure I'm going to put a ton of thought into that. Effort into making award-winning intros, but
Hey, man. We got we
maybe.
got 55 people in here right now who if they weren't aware, now they are, and now we're gonna be looking for it. So
I hope so. Yeah.
you know,
Thanks, everyone.
absolutely. Of course, I wanted to ask last thing, which is, do you have any parting advice, any parting wisdom you'd like to impart on everybody watching today, or or whatever?
Um, if you're new to the game, make sure you pace yourself. Don't do what I did and go out and get 3 credit cards in 6 weeks. Learn what the Chase 524 rule is. So yeah, just make sure you pace yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Everyone else says that. For everybody else that's beyond your first year, I guess I would just say, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous.
Yes, I love it. I love it. That's perfect. And I looked it up. I was like, "Is plenteous a word?" I was like, "Oh, I don't want to know." I was like, "This." I kept
Pretty
trying to look.
sure it is. If
I
not,
think
don't tell me if it's not.
because I went to write it for the thumbnail and then it like didn't autocorrect. I was like, "I wonder," and then I just left it there. I said, "Let's just." I thought it was too. That's funny. Well, Dugroz, Doug, I appreciate you giving me the time today, man. This was a blast. This might be one of our, aside from the one I did with Calby, I think this is our longest live stream we've done so far. So I appreciate you.
Awesome. I
Um,
figured it'd be
doing
like
that.
one of the shortest, but I'm glad people liked it. And thank you, Anthony, for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. You're
Oh,
doing awesome.
man, you're more you're on a higher level than I am. So, but also, if you want to subscribe, if you haven't already, it should still be in the pinned comment. If not, it's going to be in the comment section. But go subscribe to Dugroz Reports. Even Dugroz if you care about mattresses, but Dugroz Reports for his content. He's a great guy, and we had a great time today. So thanks for
Thanks,
everyone for
everyone.
being here. Woodsy, Filmo, and of course Keith for the super chats. I really appreciate you guys. And let's do the rattle off and see Cesar, John, McKinstry, Don Kim, Matt Clausen, John again, Abdullahi, QC Man, Richie, everybody who was in here today. I appreciate you all for being here every single
Click
Saturday.
thumbs up for Anthony, everybody. Help spread the word.
Go subscribe to Dugroz.
Subscribe to Anthony.
All right, no. All right, take care, everybody. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks so much.
Bye bye.